The following is a presentation of TNT Sports.
Tonight marks the 20th chapter in the New York-Miami miracle shots and has endured the wrath of a New York crowd. And on one good foot, he knows that this year might be the last for his Miami team. Tonight, Hardaway and the Heat begin their weekend in New York. Series tied 1-1, best of 5 about to begin.
New York City on a perfect spring night with the world's most famous arena and the NBA's most compelling rivalry. There are a few places that convey the emotion and the charisma of Madison Square Garden, and tonight it'll be at its roaring best. It's Game 3, the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks. Good evening, everyone. Kevin Harlan alongside John Thompson, Danny Ainge, and Craig Sager. Great to have you with us tonight from the Garden in New York City. Over the course of this series, a great history it's been, no team has really put a lot of juice in the home court advantage, and the numbers really don't lie. On Tuesday night, for instance, in Miami, New York smacked the Heat, tying this series at 1 game apiece. But this isn't a series built on home court advantage or who's hot. This is a rivalry. This New York Knicks-Miami Heat rivalry is built more on bad blood and conflicting personalities and a true general dislike for each other. John Thompson, just the ingredients you like for a rivalry.
Sounds like a great mixture of ingredients for a wonderful basketball game.
It's going to be a terrific game. You know, everybody here, John, is talking about the ineffective Latrell Sprewell, the ineffective Allen Houston. Neither of those players has really gone up and grabbed this team by the throat and squeezed.
Well, Kevin, with the Knicks, it's a sometimes situation. Sometimes it's Allen Houston. Sometimes it's Sprewell. Sometimes it's Johnson. Sometimes it's somebody. Sometimes it's Spike. Sometimes it may even be you.
Yeah. Who do you like tonight, then? If you got Game 3 ahead of you, who do you like tonight for New York?
My sometime guy today is Johnson. I think Johnson is a guy that has to step up. If he's going to play big tonight, it's going to be a problem for the Miami Heat, Kevin.
And he truly has been the most efficient player on the New York Knicks. And as we swing it over to Miami, efficiency is not a word you can use with their offense. It's been awful.
That's an understatement. This is a team that's been built around defense. That's their identity. The best defensive half-court team in the East. But this defensive team put so much energy in Game 2, I think it affected their offense. The hardest thing in coaching is to find the intensity of a Dick Butkus and the patience and calmness of a Joe Montana. They got the Butkus part down.
Or the shooting of a Danny Ainge. Hey, any particular matchup, Danny, that has caught your eye?
Well, I love the two-guard position. Dan Marley, I think, has done a great job of defending Allen Houston. Allen Houston is the first option in the New York offense. Dan Marley knows that. He won't ever leave him. He'll stunt at other players and always stay in Houston's jersey. He's got a great advantage because he's got Alonzo Mourning, the defensive player of the year, behind him. But Marley, one of the most physical two guards in basketball, has really done a good job of denying Houston, bodying him, and I think to the detriment of Dan, it's taken away from his offense. Only 2 for 12 shooting the threes in this game, 26% in this series. I mean, and they need some offense out of Dan Marley.
Or Alonzo Mourning. You know, the biggest games are usually reserved for the biggest players, like the aforementioned Alonzo Mourning of the Miami Heat in the Garden against the Knicks.
Start the game off right, and I know a lot of the offense will go through myself, you know, so I want to make the proper decisions, you know. So a lot of things go through my mind at that point in time, you know, but the main thing is starting the game off right, making the right decisions, you know, and I think that pretty much becomes contagious when you're doing that.
The longest running show on Broadway is Cats. And the longest running rivalry in the 90s, the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Welcome to TNT's coverage of the playoffs. Tonight's Gatorade starting lineups: Mashburn, Brown, Mourning, Marley, and Hardaway for Miami. The Knicks with Sprewell, LJ, Ewing, Houston, and Ward. And let's send it over to Craig Sager.
Patrick Ewing says this is the best he has felt in a week. He has not had an acupuncture treatment since Monday, and it was last Friday when he had the back spasms that forced him to miss his only practice of the playoffs. He says he is ready tonight. Tim Hardaway says his left foot is also feeling better. He has not practiced since Tuesday, but 3 days of stretching and anti-inflammatories have reduced the pain. But remember, treatment for plantar fascia includes about 2 weeks rest, so his left foot could flare up at any time. Kevin?
Great, Craig. Thank you very much. Pat Riley, the former New York Knicks coach. He is the mentor, and his pupil, Jeff Van Gundy, who is Riley's assistant coach here at the New York Knicks. When New York beat Miami last year, knocking out the favored Heat, Riley sent a Federal Express handwritten note to his pupil, Jeff Van Gundy. And from that point on, the differences that had existed between the two had settled. They're on speaking terms again as you take a look at our officials tonight. Hugh Hollins, Dan Crawford, Bob Delaney, a great crew, and we are underway from the Rockin' Garden here in New York City. Hardaway to Mashburn, picked up by Sprewell. Johnson with a flash of defense. Shot clock down to 10, deep down low. They get it to Alonzo Mourning, who faces all kinds of New York pressure, namely in the form of Larry Johnson, who picks up the first foul.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate for Larry. Patrick was just slow getting around him. He could have had the steal, but Larry Johnson comes over a little bit late. Patrick was fronting. It didn't work.
Here he goes with this stuff again. Slow getting around him. Slow getting around him. He was in front of him. They threw a good pass.
Do you see a cane out there, John?
Huh?
Do you see any gray in his hair? He's not old. Huh?
No, absolutely not. He looks young and fine. He said, as Craig indicated to us, he said he's feeling better than he's ever felt.
Hey, what do you think about Alonzo's poor shooting second half, in particular his horrible third quarter Tuesday in Miami?
Well, the only thing I'm concerned with it, he's going to the basket, appears more aggressively on that one possession. But in the same token, I think he's got to be careful of getting in early foul trouble because he was dissatisfied with how he played.
Sprewell has had a horrible series, missing a two-point shot. Here comes Hardaway the other way, met by the defense of Charlie Ward. Brown picked up by Ewing, and short Ewing altered the shot.
Well, P.J. Brown is looking to get some scoring because they need someone other than Alonzo Mourning and Mashburn, but he hesitated on the shot. He had the shot. He gave Patrick time to get there.
Brown at the other end with an illegal defense. Blown inside. That is the first such call. Then you talked about Riley's dictated and taught defense for Miami. One of the things he certainly prides himself on.
Well, one of the things that are going in this game, you have relationships between the coach, relationships between the players, but a lot of mind games are going on underneath all of that.
Another miss by one of their guns, that time Houston.
Yeah, good shot, though, by Houston. That was better than almost any shot he got in game two.
Mashburn on top. He's led the Heat in scoring in this series, averaging 23 a game. Brown feeds to Hardaway, who in turn gets it down to the double team Mourning, who flips it out to Marley. Shot clock at 3. Driving inside is Mashburn. As Ewing hit the deck, and a traveling violation called inside. That is the first turnover for Miami tonight.
Well, right here, you know, they need to go inside, and that's a critical part of it. The weak side defense, after the ball swung around from one side to the other night, all they did was shoot threes. Here they're looking to attack the basket on the secondary penetration.
Charlie Ward, who had an incredible first quarter Tuesday in Miami with 7 points, a couple rebounds, a couple assists, finds to Larry Johnson. Here's Ewing. Shot clock is down to 6. Ewing with the dance step and outside for Ward, and the shot clock at 2. And Ward missing there. Rebound by Brown.
Well, and it's important. He got him started down in Miami by getting off and pushing it down the floor. It's important that he gets started again.
Ewing forced him outside, but so whacks it in.
Well, and that's that fadeaway shot that he was missing the other day. And the thing that he's got to do, though, Kevin, is mix his stuff. He can't just penetrate, because if he just penetrates, New York's going to look to get the charge. He's got to mix his shots, but penetrate more than shoot fades.
Here's Houston to Sprewell. New York is 0 of 3 starting the game, and that's their first hit right there.
Well, that's important right there, because Allen Houston, after watching the game tapes of game 1 and 2, knows that he doesn't have to score every time, but he has to be aggressive, attacking the basket, and then become a playmaker.
Brown inside with Larry Johnson defending.
Well, if Larry lets him get it in the paint like that, it's very difficult because of the size difference in the two of them. He'll just go over Larry and put the ball in the basket easily.
Johnson again. who is 8 of 16 shooting in this series, across the lane, feeding outside. It's hot. And a big shot by Allen Houston.
It is, and Dan Marley shaking his head. He didn't want to give up that open jump shot, but he had to help out a little bit because they're attacking the inside.
And Charlie Ward with the steal.
And great steal. This is where they need to get some points, is in the transition.
Sprewell inside with 2.
Well, that's exactly what the Knicks have to do. They have to get the ball out and get down the court because they don't want to play against Miami's defense all game long.
You see the shooting so far with both teams in the opening couple minutes of this first quarter from the Garden. Mourning with the shot clock down to 5. Over Ewing, and again knocking it in from outside.
Well, again, I agree with Coach. He's got to mix up his offense, and twice now when they've double-teamed him, he shot the jumper. And when they play him single coverage, he'll take the ball to the basket.
A Charlie Ward turnover right there, and here comes Hardaway finding Mashburn, who is slow to get going on Tuesday. Mourning right now is the engine. He throws it away inside. And it's picked up by Johnson. Down court to Ward. Shiftily taking it inside and a foul.
You see, that's the advantage of pushing the ball, Kevin, by getting the ball out and getting down the floor. You put the defense in a position of fouling. You get yourself in a position of getting possibly easy baskets. You create more of a problem for the Heat. So you look at this, they're getting out and pushing the ball down the floor now. And this is what New York is very good at doing, particularly a Sprewell.
New York, 50%, flying inside the lane. Sprewell again looks like those big guards are having an effect.
And when you make a basket, and then you make 2 baskets in a row, and you make those easy lay-ins, the basket gets bigger, and the shots start going, and the confidence grows.
Hardaway with the move on Ward. Even with the bad foot, the hobbling Hardaway takes it down the lane. And a whistle and a foul is blown down low, and they go on Ward for a first time tonight.
And here, you know, Marley is doing a great job on Houston. Houston, again, watching the game tapes, knowing that he's got to become a playmaker if he can't score. Has got some good shots early in the game, but here he penetrates with the idea of kicking the ball to Sprewell. And off of that secondary penetration, that play got Sprewell going.
Well, one of the things that has to happen, regardless of how Houston is playing, he's got to be more aggressive in this ball game. Dan is absolutely right. Whether he's being a playmaker, whether he's letting the referee know the fact that Dan is a little physical with it, but he can't be passive and just sit back. He's too good of an offensive player to let that happen.
And being passive isn't his game anyway.
No, it's not his game. And it shouldn't be his game, particularly against a guy as aggressive as Dan Marley is.
Good sign for Miami, that last play. Tim Hardaway taking his man off the dribble, creating an easy opportunity for Alonzo.
And Miami hitting their free throws tonight.
Well, so far.
So has scored 7 of Miami's first 9 points tonight. And a whistle away from the ball. And a shove called on the Heat. P.J. Brown was down low, and he has assessed his first foul tonight.
Well, and Brown is very solid for them. He can't afford to get in foul trouble because it's extremely important to Alonzo if Brown is back there to give him the support he needs.
Sprewell looks active tonight as he tries to flare for 2, and a 3 by Larry Johnson.
I really love the intensity in which Houston and Sprewell are playing. They're playing with so much more confidence and energy on offense right now that is really putting a burden on Miami's defense.
Knicks on top by 3, and illegal defense is blown on the Miami Heat, or rather on the New York Knicks.
Larry Johnson's got a good point. He's complaining with Danny Crawford because his man is strong side. He's guarding P.J. Brown, and when the ball's strong side, you can be anywhere you want on the court.
You're watching the ball.
Well, and what is extremely important also for the Heat is that Mashburn has to get in the flow, just as Sprewell has in Houston for the Knicks, because Mashburn played very well down in Miami.
Knicks by 3, down the lane. Mashburn driving, which he did so well in Game 1 and bits of Game 2. They rotate from Marley to Mashburn for 3. A big shot that ties the game.
Speaking of Mashburn, and that's what he's got to do. He can't watch the game. He's got to get involved in it because he's also a type of guy that Miami depends on for outside shooting and supporting Alonzo.
In the midst of our 4th tie.
Both teams so much better offensively in the early going of this game than in any stretch in Game 2.
And what adjustments have you seen?
Well, they're making shots, and they're anticipating that the initial offense, the first option, is being taken away by both teams, and they're getting their offense off the second and third options. Right here, Larry Johnson, third option on the play, wide open 3.
There was an illegal defense blown. That is the second such call on Miami, and so a technical shot will be taken by Allen Houston, who has not had a very good series. But it's the free throw that time, the first tonight for the New York Knicks. And we take a break with 6:51 to play in the first quarter from the Rockin' Garden with the Knicks on top of Miami 13-12. It's game 3 in the Eastern semis. Well, both Pat Riley of the Miami Heat and Jeff Van Gundy of the New York Knicks are trying to get their team to throw the ball around, get some rotation, get the passing game going.
Well, yeah, you see the assists are so far down than the regular season. A lot of it has to do with the defense and the free throw shooting in game 2. But we're seeing not only better passing, both coaches want to see that, but we're seeing better movement and ball movement and more aggressive initial offense. And right here, Larry Johnson penetrating in, again, drawing the Miami defense, kicking it to the open Houston in the corner for the wide open 3. Much better job in this game of people movement and ball movement.
Well, I tell you, Danny, I haven't seen Larry Johnson in a long time look as quick as he's looking now in his movements and his turns. And it's just amazing to me and refreshing how quickly he's moving once he gets the ball.
Just under 7 minutes to play here in the first quarter from Madison Square Garden. It's Ewing in on Mourning for the first significant time tonight.
Well, and the thing that he did well is he went to him. Alonzo is a great shot blocker. Anytime you take the space between the shot blocker and you away, it's very difficult for them to block the shots. Patrick had been faded.
Johnson is on Brown. And Sprewell deflects a Mashburn pass. Another Miami turnover. And here comes Sprewell dancing into Hardaway. Oh, what a shot.
What a great play by Larry Johnson. Not only deflecting the pass, running it down, and making a great outlet behind his back to Sprewell, getting him in the open court.
Well, that's that newfound quickness, Kevin, that I'm talking about. I mean, it's amazing to me. Larry's back must not be bothering him at all anymore, and his toes must feel very good.
He's got twinkle toes tonight. It's a 5-point New York Knicks lead, their biggest tonight. Brown with the miss. Rebound, gobbles in the rebound, and here comes Charlie Ward. A 3 by Johnson. He made the last one. Fans there. Brown with the board for Miami. Hardaway to Brown in full flight, and Mourning is waiting underneath, but was shoved and fouled.
Well, the great defense here by Larry Johnson, running the ball down. They do a good trap. Sprewell actually knocks the ball away, and great pass by Larry Johnson. And right here, Tim Hardaway does a pretty good job defensively stripping the ball. How Sprewell makes that, I don't know.
Sprewell just picks up a foul guarding guarding Alonzo Mourning, and Mourning is at the free throw line once again, where he has lived a lot already tonight and where he is 4 of 5.
Yeah, Kevin, one of the problems with that is that Miami is pushing the ball quickly, trying to get down before Patrick is able to get back. As a result of it, players are having to switch, trying to take up for Patrick in transition, and then the foul is being picked up.
I'm glad you saw that, Coach. Patrick was worse than the Pony Express getting back on defense that time.
Do I need to comment on that?
Just keep the elbows down. Just keep the elbows down. Larry Johnson going up and trying to slam, and Alonzo is there. Ewing trying to get it away from Mashburn. Sprewell can't, and here comes Mash. A 4-on-2 with Hardaway splitting the defense and tapped up and in by Dan Marley.
Great play by Marley staying with it. They had a 3-on-1 break, all caused by the turnover. Houston penetrated and threw a bullet pass to Patrick. Very difficult to handle.
Houston roughed up a little bit by Dan Marley. Some of the defense you were talking about earlier, Dan.
I used to have to play against him every day in practice. I know what it's like to play against him. Very physical, very strong, has a great luxury. A lot of people believe P.J. Brown's one of the best interior defenders in basketball, and Alonzo Mourning one of the top shot blockers. So he has that luxury, having them bail him out if Houston does penetrate on him.
And one of the things that Houston did well is he accentuated the foul by falling. The last game, he just stood there a little bit.
Ewing contorts his body. Both teams are shooting over 60% here in the first quarter. Under 5 to play. They quickly double Joe inside for Brown, knocked away by the tough New York defense. Houston going behind his back, an ill-advised pass. Brown the steal, Mashburn at the other end, into Ewing, rebound by Mourning, up and down for 2.
Well, you know, the pass reminded me of something that Jeff Van Gundy said to us earlier, that Sprewell had the best judgment. You know, Houston was in there, he made the decision, but it wasn't exactly a good pass on the break.
Alonzo's got 11 points. Here's Sprewell, the Heat, down moments ago by 5, lead by 1, 6-0 run. Ewing to Ward to Houston. On this 3.
I like the ball movement.
And a technical.
Delay a game warning. I like the ball movement, though. They're trusting each other. They just got to knock down those shots. That is the Knicks. But great defensive effort by Miami, causing them to move the ball and take the outside shots.
And I like the fact that Houston came down in transition, pulled up and had an open shot even though he didn't hit it. I like him doing that a lot more than Johnson doing it in transition.
Mashburn picked up the foul. That's his first. And there's Johnson giving off to Ward. Finding Sprewell, picked up by Brown. Anytime in the shot clock at 12. Great pass to Jackson inside, and a foul call. That's on Tim Hardaway, who picks up his second foul of the night.
Well, that's a big foul by Tim Hardaway, but you see the transition in open court, and this is just a terrible pass by Houston. I don't know what he sees. P.J. Brown's ahead of Larry Johnson almost the whole way. And right there, you know, it's a tough call because Van Gundy wants him to push, so Miami can't set their half-court defense. At the same time, he doesn't like the judgment of Houston and Ward and Johnson. They're not great fast break players.
When you have to stay within the context of your game, he's got to realize you would almost, Danny, love to see him pull up and shoot a short jump shot than try to throw a colorful pass in the middle of a fast break.
There's Houston, who's shooting 40% in this series. Clarence Weatherspoon has come in for P.J. Brown. And Hardaway is on the bench, and taking his place is a rookie, Anthony Carter, out of Hawaii. And here's LJ at the free throw line.
You know, I always wonder. I see Patrick pointing to the floor for the little boy to wipe up perspiration. I always wonder whether they're trying to beg for more time when they do that. Does it really sweat down on the floor?
I know what it is.
What is it?
He's exhausted.
He shouldn't be exhausted. He's paid his price.
It's a smart veteran play.
Miami leads by 1. And Miami shooting 64%. Carter to Mashburn. Weatherspoon staking his claim. The shot clock at 4, and over Larry Johnson, short again.
Weatherspoon's really struggling offensively in this series, and I thought it was because of Marcus Camby. But right there, he had a wide open shot. He just couldn't convert it.
Sprewell the miss. By the way, moments ago, there was a ball knocked away, and Bob Delaney held up on giving a technical foul, which many people thought he was going to do, and he gave that look of being a technical foul.
Well, Alonzo Mourning did a good thing. He ran right to him and says, oh, I was just mad at myself, and got up out of a technical. And
because Delaney had his hands on the trigger.
Yeah, you know, that's a technical some officials call, and some call delay of the game.
Houston maneuvering on Marley. Rebound by Alonzo Mourning.
Even though he missed that, I like that. I mean, he's penetrating, he pulled up, he took a shot. This guy's a shooter. If he gets that kind of shot, he'll make more of them than he'll miss.
So Marcus Camby now comes in for Larry Johnson. We're just above 3 minutes to play in the first quarter. The shooting has been great by both teams already. Miami leads by 1. Well, these are the big three for the New York Knicks: Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, and Patrick Ewing. In first couple games, they have really staggered.
Well, they've really struggled shooting the ball outside. One thing that they've done a pretty good job of is getting to the free throw line, and that is why the assists are down, and why they have 85 points in 85 minutes. But, you know, they need some production out of one of these guys. A big, big game, probably out of 2 of them.
Well, and that's the thing I said. The Knicks is the kind of team that sometimes somebody's going to show up. And I think right now I like the body language of Sprewell. He's more positive in his shot. He's coming down and really looking for his stuff.
Marley picked up by Houston, and Marley will begin to drive looking like his younger days when he played with the Phoenix Suns.
Knicks are really pushing the ball, Kevin, really pushing the ball.
They haven't scored a field goal in 3 minutes until that shot right there, and a good pass set up Allen Houston's shot.
Yeah, good transition off the outlet and off the missed shot, but Dan Marley, who doesn't usually go to the basket, is usually the safety in defense. Didn't have a chance to get back in defense, but hey, 26 of 34 shot attempts have been from the three-point line, so Riley loves the fact that he's going to the basket.
It's over 70%. Weatherspoon, Carter, touch pass to Mashburn for 3. And they need that outside shooting to loosen that defense.
Well, he's important to him because when he plays well, it opens up the middle for Alonzo. When Dan hits that shot outside, it opens up the middle for Alonzo.
Mashburn's got 6. Miami leads by 2 as we approach 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Ewing against Mourning. Across the lane, contorts his body again. Again, the shot won't drop. And Ewing has started 1 of 3. Carter to Mashburn. Oh, and a well-orchestrated fast break.
Great fast break. Again, good defense, the outlet. Numbers advantage, an easy opportunity, but you see Carter, how much faster he is in the open court than a Tim Hardaway.
A different gear altogether.
Well, exactly. I mean, his game has got to be transition. Tim Hardaway is more a half-court offensive player. If Carter doesn't come out and push the ball, he has no use to them, particularly at the offensive end. But defensively, putting pressure, getting out on the break is what he has to do.
Weatherspoon picks up his first foul for Coach Pat Riley. There you see Clarence Weatherspoon, who is a pretty good free agent fine, had a decent regular season, although his scoring has gone down every year the last 6. But the playoffs has not done much.
Well, he's really struggled in this series, and I'm not sure why. I know Marcus Camby's length gave him some trouble in game 2 and the post-up situation, but they need some offensive production out of Weatherspoon. He's capable of putting together a 20-point game.
We just saw Camby next to Weatherspoon. Camby looked like he was going to a MASH unit the other night in Miami with the bad elbow. He had the cut above the eye, and he was hobbling.
But the great ones cure quickly in the playoffs, Kevin. They cure very quickly.
The great ones cure right after the injury during the game. They don't need 3 days off.
That's why it's not many great ones.
The Heat leads by 2. Minute and a half to play in the first. Marley slips it off the newly instated Otis Thorpe. A little bit outside his shooting range and picked up by Allen Houston. Into Marley with the bump. Oh, and he got separation. Yet he still couldn't hit the shot.
Good shot right there. I thought he was a little bit more patient in the jump shot. He didn't rush it.
Mourning is on the bench. A steal by Camby. Gets it off with Ward orchestrating up the middle. 6 Miami turnovers, and that seems to be their problem tonight. Both these teams shot horribly in game 2. Shot clock at 9. Marley with the defense, and it's off Miami, and the shot clock at 7.
Well, you have to give Dan Marley a lot of credit because he did a great job of defending the pass. A lot of players just defend the shot. Dan covered the pass up because the Knicks had Patrick in the corner wide open on that play, and Dan Marley broke that play up.
Well, you know, Houston's coming off this pick and roll. Miami's been trapping for about 10 years. You got to anticipate the trap. You got to make the play coming out of the, and he was a little bit late even delivering that ball had the pass gotten through.
Marley is out. Bruce Bowen is in. Here comes Ward driving on the quicker Carter outside. With Mourning on the bench, they leave Ewing in. Here comes the explosive Carter the other way, met by the defensive Ward. Final half minute of the first quarter. Carter slides one inside. Weatherspoon with Ewing right there. Shot clock down to 6. Mashburn spinning. Intercepted by Camby. Picked up by Carter. Knocks down a 2.
Sometimes that's the easiest shot to shoot, knowing that you have no choice but to shoot it. And Carter made one of those in game 1.
And he was left open to fire.
Well, particularly after Camby made a good defensive play. Your teammates have to anticipate the block and hustle to pick up the loose ball.
New York has hit only 2 of their last 11 from the field. Driving is Houston. More separation with the whistle blown. And it's inside on the Knicks. And Allen Houston picks up his first foul officially. Now we're down to 3.5 seconds to play here in the first quarters. They'll take out Ewing and they'll bring in Thomas. Final seconds. Carter on the floor and just shy. So the New York Knicks go cold at the end of the first quarter. Alonzo Mourning, though, took control. He had better position down low with 11 points, and he got to the free throw line on a 5 of 6 display. At the end of 1 in game 3, the Miami Heat leading the New York Knicks 25-21. It's a spectacular night in New York, and welcome to the NBA playoffs on TNT tonight from Madison Square Garden, where in Game 3, the Miami Heat lead the New York Knicks 25-21. The offense much more in tune tonight. And let's send it over to Craig Sager.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Latrell Sprewell was even later than usual tonight, but he had a good excuse. He got in a car accident on 7th Avenue. Now, Sprewell doesn't have the greatest driving record around, but he doesn't want his insurance agency to worry. There were no tickets involved. He says there's no major damage, and he also says the cab driver who bumped him apologized.
John and Danny, God forbid anything happen to one of us, because Craig Sager will report it for everyone to hear. Everyone to hear.
Yeah, he's going to go get an appraisal on the Sager. Sager's going to get an appraisal at halftime to see how much damage was done in the accident.
And give the quote to Luttrell. Great report, Craig. Outstanding work as always. We begin the second quarter. Chris Childs is in the normal rotation of Jeff Van Gundy. Here comes the aforementioned Sprewell inside to Camby with a lovely pass. And a foul is called inside on Miami's defense. So we're still on the bench. Craig?
Yeah, I tried to get the appraisal for you by now, but I went down underneath where the players park their cars when they come in, and his car has been moved across the street to a different garage.
What else you been doing tonight?
Well, I did the tease because your voice wasn't very good, and I was hoping to be a Wally Pipp situation where
hey, we got a long way to go.
Gary came in, but you're back in your seat.
We have a long way to go, mister. Well,
I was talking about, great people and players coming back quickly. I was referring to Kevin.
As critical as he is, he's referring to everybody in the building.
Yeah,
everybody in the building. Don't even go for that, Kevin. Don't even buy it.
If you just joined us, some better shooting tonight. Hardaway is playing. He says his foot feels okay. Not great, but as good as it's going to feel at this stage. Miami trailed at one time by 5. Now they lead by 2. They led at the end of one by 4. Like we said before, the offense tonight much better, much more in sync for both teams tonight, compared to a horrible game 2 Tuesday morning Miami.
Well, because there's more running, there's more movement of ball, there's more movement of men at both ends of the floor tonight.
And Otis Thorpe was challenged by little guard Chris Childs. They called the jump ball.
Well, Childs is a very aggressive player. Fouled out in only 11 minutes in game 2. Very aggressive, good defense. And, it's just a difference out there with Otis Thorpe on the post versus Alonzo.
Most of the good shooting was in the first 8 minutes of the first quarter, but the numbers sliding a little bit as we start this second. And a quick whistle, and Pat Riley is up arguing with veteran referee Bob Delaney. And they called a foul on Jamal Mashburn. That is his second of the game. And he is one player with his great outside shooting that they can ill afford to lose. He will check out right now. P.J. Brown comes back in. So Hardaway, Mashburn, and Alonzo Mourning all on the bench.
Yeah, and I don't know where they're going to get their scoring right now. They're going to have to go to Weatherspoon on the post or try to create it through penetration by Carter. But I like how Sprewell is more aggressive coming off these pick and rolls, anticipating the double team and getting the ball moving from side to side.
Camby working on Brown. Rebound by Bowen. Patrick Ewing is on the New York bench, and here comes Carter.
Well, and the Knicks have a quicker team in the game. They're going to need it because Danny was absolutely right. In order for the Heat to score, they've got to get out in transition and get down and get early baskets, or, as he indicated, give it to Spoon.
P.J. Brown inside. Thorpe had it ripped away for a second time by Childs. Carter outside for Brown. Shot clock at 18, and they'll reload their offense.
See, that was even a perfect example. Brown had an open shot, and he was reluctant to take it. He pushed it back out, which was probably smart for him to do.
Carter hooked it out to Brown with the miss. Rebound, the feisty Anthony Carter, and they call another jump ball.
Well, Carter's not a great offensive player, but he plays with a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and he's keeping the ball alive, penetrating right there, creating an easy shot for P.J. Brown. So he's been effective.
A lot of times you put a guy in the game, he doesn't know what his role is. This guy knows what his role is. He's getting out on the break. He's getting loose balls. He's doing the things that they put him on the floor to do.
Surprisingly, Carter has already lassoed 4 rebounds tonight and wins the jump ball right there with ease. He got up high. Childs didn't try to go up on him, but nonetheless, he got up high.
Well, Carter was up there so quick before Childs had a chance to jump.
P.J. Brown. Bumped by Larry Johnson. And out of bounds it goes. 6 seconds to shoot. John, I agree with you. Larry Johnson looks spry tonight. He's got a new bounce in his step.
Well, he's got great legs. He's moving well. He's doing a lot better than I've seen him. I mean, if you look at him now, he's far more active, and I think that's the result of his back probably feeling a lot better.
Shot clock at 4. Weatherspoon decides to drive and spin. Rejected by Camby inside. Picked up by Johnson. And here comes Chris Childs. Driving into Carter, plying his way inside. That ball kicked out of bounds by Bruce Bowen.
Camby has just given Weatherspoon fits. He shot an air ball over Larry Johnson. He blocked an easy layup he had last night, and I know he's trying to get him out of the game in foul trouble.
Timeout.
Portland's looking pretty good against Utah. Do you watch that at all? Do you care about that at all?
I don't watch TV. TV corrupts the mind.
Not even game tape?
I have no TVs in my house. I just look at the scenery, the birds and the deer, the grass.
But I bet he watches the playoffs on TNT. Lakers and Phoenix. Game 3 next on TNT. Moments ago, Jeff Van Gundy with a very interesting display to his New York Knicks team.
Yeah, he's telling them, hey, rebound the basketball. With 17-8, they're getting killed on the glass. Very important. You know, you can draw plays, you can do a lot of different things in strategy, but if you don't rebound the ball, they have no chance, because when they do rebound, they're getting easy opportunities in the open court.
And you can see the rebounding difference right there. Mashburn is out with a couple fouls. Alonzo Mourning is still out of the game. And Tim Hardaway is still out. The Knicks, with no Ewing, have not had a field goal in 5 minutes. Canby, Sprewell, shot clock at 3. Thomas inside over Thorpe, and it won't go.
Well, and Miami's getting out and running, particularly with this group that they have in the game right now. They've got to continue to get movement in their half-court offense because they don't have a lot of perimeter scorers in the ball game right now, so they've got to get layups or penetration.
Brown, Carter, who has 5 rebounds. Shot clock at 5 again. They keep working this thing down. Another rejection, this time turned in by Thomas. Shot clock at 1, and Brown missing everything with a shot clock violation.
Well, they don't have any offense on the court. We wondered how they were going to get some offense. PJ's had a couple of shots. Witherspoon shoots an air ball. They can't get in these baskets.
What were they doing early on?
They had Mashburn and Mourning out there tearing it up.
That makes a difference, huh, John?
Oh, well, and they probably have a lot of older guys out there now, according to Danny.
Sprewell trying to drive. Bowen was there. Otis Thorpe was there. And the foul goes on Bruce Bowen. He was a free agent picked off the wire by Miami. Has great perimeter defense and kind of a Dan Marley clone. Can't hit the 3, but his perimeter defense is the one thing that was attractive about his talents to Pat Riley. As you can take a look at the domination in terms of block shots on defense by New York. Sprewell slithers. Another missed shot. Now, a lot of shrinkage with that rim, Danny.
It's getting a little short. Shots are coming up short right now, but again, the best offensive players aren't on the court.
Well, they may be shrinkage with the rim, but right now they have Thorpe, Brown, and Mourning in the game. They certainly have a big team for Miami out there.
Mourning just checks off the bench. Here's Carter kicking it outside to Bowen. Into Zoe over Larry Johnson with the miss right there. Good looking offensive rebound by Brown, but he stepped out of bounds.
Well, they have a big lineup out there, and they're letting them play one-on-one on the post. That's a perfect opportunity to trap. New York has a little bit more quickness, not as much size, but there's no outside shooting on the court for Miami.
Well, and also in that shot, Alonzo faded. That was an ill-advised shot. He should have gone. Larry is so much smaller than him. He should have gone right over him and forced Larry to have to guard him.
Inside, Sprewell is double-teamed. He's in a defensive vice grip with not much there. New York has missed 6 consecutive shots from the floor. Miami has missed 9 in a row.
This is what I love about Miami's defense right there. He's got to run through a wall. Thorpe, he doesn't bump him when he puts the ball on the floor. Look at that. P.J. Brown, Alonzo Mourning, and Bowen all coming over to try to contest that shot.
Bowen picked up his 2nd foul, and here's Sprewell at the free throw line for the Knicks.
Well, I like Sprewell's aggressiveness now. They can't let it taper off, though. You know, I mean, the Knicks have to constantly attack. They have to get down the court. They have to continue to move so that they can open up and get some penetration also because of the type of players that they have right now on the floor. They also do not have a great outside shooter playing in this unit right here.
Some good transition numbers tonight already for Sprewell.
Yeah, and that's where he's most effective, is when they can get an open court game.
Approaching 8 minutes to play here in the first half. Carter working on the perimeter. Only 4 points total scored in this quarter by both teams. Sprewell and Canby the only 2. And P.J. Brown hitting from outside, an unlikely source of Miami offense.
But he's got to have some source of offense with the 3 post guys that they have out there. Carter, they have out there, and Boyd. So somebody's got to do it, and Brown's not bad if you give him time. He's also great to make the entry pass because Height can throw to Height much easier.
Giles with the miss. Here comes Brown, kicking it outside to Bowen. 7.5 to play in the half here in Game 3 of the Eastern Semis. Offense has now been stuck. Brown spoon feeds Otis Thorpe with a tomahawk inside.
And what happened that time was New York had 3 players go to Alonzo. A little bit miscommunication on which guy is going down to double team him. Left P.J. Brown wide open in the middle of the paint.
And it's very difficult to double team anytime you have big players in the game because they just reach over the traps and just make simple passes.
Heat still on top by 4. Timeout. The New York Knicks have given Miami and Alonzo Mourning a lot of different defensive looks.
Yeah, they put a lot of different bodies on him. But you see Larry the pass into Alonzo. When Alonzo finally catches the ball down on the post, working so hard to get the ball, you see Childs coming, you see Larry Johnson coming. 3 people defending him is too many. Gives up the easy basket to Miami.
And the thing that makes that much easier, particularly when they have 3 centers in the ball game, is that those other guys who are big are not accustomed to playing the perimeter, Kevin. They have a tendency to stand. That makes it easier to trap. That makes it easier to support.
What would you tell Zoe to do, John?
Pray.
Keep passing. Pass the ball to the open man.
Right. New York has missed their last 7. Their last field goal came late in the first quarter. They've gone 7.5 minutes with not a single point from the floor. And there's a shove with the bump and grind with Larry Johnson and P.J. Brown. And Brown is tagged with his 2nd foul tonight, with 7:04 to play in the 2nd quarter. And LJ will be at the free throw line.
Well, it's important, particularly, you know, with Johnson picking up that foul in a low post position. He didn't have enough room to really drive the way he can because he wants to use a bigger man to make him use his lateral movement, as opposed to Alonzo wants to make a smaller man when Johnson is guarding him by going over top of him. But Larry is smart enough to get him in foul trouble because Brown was pushing him.
Let's see, Larry Johnson about 6'6.5", 6'7". Alonzo almost 7 foot.
Yeah, you know, and in game 2, they were double teaming Larry Brown right away and made a great stretch. They went on a 14-0 run, the Knicks did, when they started doubling Larry Johnson. So now they're waiting until he gets his back to the basket and gets in deep in the paint before the double team is coming. P.J.
Brown's about 6'10", 6'11". So LJ having to face taller guys, and this time he goes up against the driving Mourning, who launches inside on the fly.
Well, he went to the basket on a cut that time, as opposed to using the dribble that he always does or post up. And he set the screen, he rolled to the basket. It was a great pass.
And that's one problem I have with New York's defense, is they trap everybody. You know, Carter hasn't made a shot except in desperation from the outside, and yet they still trap him and leave Alonzo Mourning going hard to the basket.
Johnson and Thorpe, shot clock at 3. LJ with the spin and fires, and it's short. May have been off Thomas's head. Nope, it's off of Miami.
Well, it's a tough shot, Kevin, over Otis Thorpe. That's an easier shot over a smaller person. Thorpe, you've got to drive by him. That's beautiful on Alonzo's part because he got himself enough space so that he wouldn't be in a congested area. He set the screen, he rolled to the basket.
Anthony Carter still in for Hardaway, getting some much-needed rest on the bench. Carter just knocked the ball right out of Child's hands. He thought it was a steal, but they're going to let New York inbound once again.
And you saw that last lay-in there by Alonzo. You know, they went out and trapped Carter out there at the hash mark, leaving him open, and Camby came a little bit late in the rotation.
New York has gone 8.5 minutes without a field goal. Camby inside, feeding Thomas, who's open.
Well, that was a good pass. Camby penetrated and pitched it out, pulled the defense to him because Miami is so aggressive, and he just dropped it out for the small little jumper on Thomas's part.
There's a quick foul, little hand check called on Chris Childs, who fouled out of game 2, but he certainly brings an intensity to this team.
He does bring an intensity, and he was a little frustrated in game 2 and frustrated with that call. This is Miami, New York. You know, he's not used to that. This is street ball. This is pick up full court and body check, and you know, he's getting a little frustrated, but he's got to make an adjustment to those hand checks.
Well, and his personality is good for the team, particularly if you've got a deep team. You know, he sets a tone a lot of time of aggressiveness, particularly if he keeps himself under control. That's needed.
I knew you'd say that. You love guys like that. Thorpe inside tries to put up a shot, which won't fly. Rebound by Thomas.
Well, it's easier to calm down an active person, but it's hard to resurrect the corpse.
I agree. I'll take energy with a little hyperness anytime.
5.5 to play in the half. The Heat leading the Knicks 31-29. Canby will slash and stop. Another miss. New York has been horrible from the field.
Yes, they have, but I like their energy. You know, they're going to start going. I think that they need to get some more baskets off their defense and off their rebounding. They're still getting beat on the boards, not getting in transition enough.
All inside. And they call it on Kurt Thomas, who picks up his first of the game.
We see the rebounds right there. It's not getting any better since the timeout when Jeff Van Gundy wrote it down. It's gotten a lot worse.
Ewing's been out a great deal of this second quarter. Johnson will check out. In there for the Knicks now. Houston, Sprewell, Thomas, Canby, and Childs at the point. New York's offense was cooking when they had Charlie Ward in there. Ward in game 2 was penetrating, and he was trying to get the same kind of feel to his game tonight. Carter with Childs defending, driving inside for 2.
Well, that was beautiful because before they set the screen, Alonzo rolled, the pass was thrown to Alonzo. This time Alonzo sets the screen and Carter's mixing it up. He went right to the basket.
Carter looks confident tonight.
Yes, and that penetration breaks down the New York defense. It's great. That's something that Tim Hardaway has not been able to do.
Sprewell is in a defensive straitjacket and throws it away. 3-on-2. Carter lost his train of thought, but somehow Mashburn collects it, and he hooks it inside to Zoe, who goes across the lane and feels the wrath of New York's defense. And inside it goes on Canby for the first time.
Good patience by Carter on this pick and roll. He knows that they're going to trap him. He sets Chris Childs up, fakes up over the top, spins baseline, drives hard. Canby just late getting there.
Ewing is back in for the New York Knicks. Carter slides it into Thorpe, who kicks it out to Bowen. Shot clock is at 7. Zoe quickly trapped. He decides to drive. Shot clock at 2. Carter. Thorpe is rejected by Ewing.
Great block for an elderly citizen out there, wasn't it, Danny?
Canby on the fly, and a whistle, and a foul, and a charge on Canby. Danny, you're speechless.
No, that
Speechless. I mean, exactly.
That was a great play for an old guy. I give him credit.
An old geezer, don't you want
That
to
was
say
a
that?
great play for a teenager, buddy.
Yeah, but he blocked a guy that's just as old as him.
Listen to him.
And 6 inches shorter.
Believe this guy.
He got back at him.
Unbelievable.
Look at Otis is coming out of the game.
You always have a reply, don't you, Danny? So Thorpe checks out. Yeah, Thorpe is about 37 years old, isn't he?
Yeah, when he blocks Alonzo's shot like that, then
And the only reason why a 37-year-old guy is playing is because a 20-year-old guy doesn't have the ability to be out there.
Approaching 4 to play in the first half. That's a good point.
I will agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
There we go.
I'm
There's
sorry.
warning.
That's a rare moment. Danny agreed with me. Look at this. Look at this.
Look at the cat-like quick moves of Patrick Ewing. Miami's 10th turnover. Sprewell, Childs, Ewing. We might have some momentum here. Let's see what he does. Shot by Patrick Ewing.
I'm a believer. I mean, should I say anything? Is he still elderly? That's all I want to know is, did he get young all of a sudden out there?
He got young with that 9-minute
I
rest
just
over
want to
on the
know.
bench.
Patrick Ewing has 4 points, and he does it at both ends. First on the defensive end, as Ewing was jousting inside and down low with the steal. And before that, he had rejected a shot. And then the patented move by 37-year-old Patrick Ewing. Nothing but net. He brings the Knicks to within 2 with 3.5 to play in the half.
Ernie Johnson in our Atlanta studio. After waving to an adoring fan, Shaquille O'Neal makes his way toward the locker room. And Game 3 of the Lakers-Phoenix Suns series, which is still to come here on TNT tonight. The Lakers leading 2-zip. Back to Kevin and John and Danny.
Thank you, EJ. Teams have a home record in the Western Conference of 20-3. And remember, the Los Angeles Lakers have not won on the road in these playoffs as of yet. Let's send over to Craig.
Well, remember, Patrick Ewing said on the way in today, this is the best he's felt in a week. We've been reporting, or not, we have not been reporting, but some people have been reporting he's been having back spasms all week. The back spasms actually were a week ago. What he's been having is muscle pain. And the last acupuncture was Monday night, so he definitely feels better physically, mentally as well. Kevin?
Thank you, Craig. He looks better, John.
Well, he looks a lot better, and I think you have to give credit to Van Gundy because he took him out and let him rest. Patrick was probably upset because he wanted to get in the game and play, but he seems a lot fresher when he returned as he did before he went out.
Canby in mourning. Kawhi just off the block near the baseline, and a quick foul has been assessed. Marcus Camby. That is his third, and here comes Larry Johnson off the Van Gundy New York Knicks bench.
Big foul by Camby right there, although Johnson's been playing really well, and it's great to get him back in the game too. But Camby is such a dominant presence on the defense when they're scrambling and rotating.
You're absolutely correct, Danny. I think it's more of a problem for Patrick when Camby goes out of the game and Johnson is in because Patrick has the support of Camby shot blocking.
Mashburn is 3 of 7. And here comes Sprewell with authority on his mind, and a rebound by P.J. Brown. He's moving well. That's the 8th rebound by Brown, but Sprewell is not hitting now.
You know, New York just has no opportunity to get an offensive rebound that time. Patrick had no idea Sprewell was going to shoot it. Everybody was running around, and nobody knew when to go to the boards, and not any chance for an offensive rebound in that transition.
Tim Hardaway is in. There is a spry move by Alonzo Mourning.
Well, and it's a perfect example of what I'm saying. If Alonzo is driving and going to the basket, Patrick's going to have a difficult time guarding it. If Camby were in the game, now your second line of defense is a shot blocker, and that helps you a lot to be more aggressive in pushing Alonzo.
They were trapping Sprewell. Ewing across the lane, snaps at the Childs, who feeds to Houston, who drives down the lane and finally gets one to go.
Great job right there, moving the ball around and taking the ball to the basket again off secondary penetration. Ball set up by Patrick, penetrating in the lane for the jump hook.
There's a Miami foul. Looked like Dan Marley on the side was getting too physical, and he was, and he is tagged with his second foul of the game.
Yeah, Dan looks a little confused on that play. Great job by Patrick not letting him get contact. Alonzo uses his body real quick, but that's what he said before the game, what he was going to do on the advice of Coach Thompson. Jeff Van Gundy was not happy that he had given Alonzo that advice of attacking the basket.
He didn't like that, John. There's a drive by Sprewell and a Miami Heat foul. And being helped up is Alonzo, who's fouled there for the first time.
Who was not happy? Danny or just Jeff Van Gundy?
No, Jeff Van Gundy. So why, Coach? Why would you tell him that? Why would you wake up a sleeping giant like Alonzo with your words of wisdom?
Really? No. Yeah. I wonder why Coach would do that.
Because you see why. Alonzo, every time he goes to the basket, something good happens.
Here's Sprewell at the free throw line. 2 minutes to play, and we are in the second quarter. AT&T halftime is on deck from Atlanta.
You just can't quit coaching your old guys, can you?
No, well, you know, my friends, they're not my old guys. We just sit down and we discuss things. Do you think Jeff Van Gundy goes to dinner with Pat Riley? I'm just curious.
No, Pat Riley would never do that.
Oh, okay. That's his protege, right? You mean he wouldn't feed the man when he's in Miami?
Sprewell now has 12. He had 11 the first 2 games, so already he is on a different track tonight. Under 2 to play here in the second quarter. We're tied at 35. Out of bounds. Miami will inbound with 10 seconds on the shot clock.
Right, this is what's got Childs in trouble a couple times, though, because I think they want to double down on Patrick, but they don't want to come from the baseline side. They want Alonzo to put the ball going toward the middle, so that was a time that almost paid off the gamble. The time before Childs did that, they gave up an easy basket to Thor.
Well, and particularly when Camby's not in the game, New York has to do something to give Patrick support against Alonzo if Alonzo is penetrating to the basket.
Illegal defense blown on the New York Knicks, and so Miami with Tim Hardaway will be at the free throw line with 1:41 to play here in the second quarter. And Alonso sat out there. It almost looked as if Danny, he was trying to bait them into exactly what happened, an illegal D.
Well, you know, what you're taught in the low post is to locate the defense, and he caught the ball there. He wasn't sure if the double team was coming or not. Childs was cheating on the strong side. Tim Hardaway moved weak side and made Childs make a decision. Either go with Hardaway or go down and double Alonso. He did neither, got caught for illegal.
Tim Hardaway gets his first point tonight. We began the broadcast by saying that Tim Hardaway, John, has been a part of every one of these Miami, New York Knicks playoff games. Some have come and gone, some have been suspended. He is the only Miami player to have witnessed every game.
Well, and he's extremely important from the mental aspect of the game out there. His shooting is extremely important when they collapse back in the middle on Alonso, as is the case with Mashburn. But Tim Hardaway's mind is what is needed by this team, even though he might be having a little difficulty right now with his feet.
There was a foul on Mashburn. He's got 3.
That was a turnover.
And there's an offensive foul, and this one's on Patrick Ewing.
What happened right here, it was a handoff inbounds play, and you can't hand it. You got to throw the ball inbounds, and Mashburn tries to do the Joe Montana to Roger Craig handoff, quarterback to fullback, and that's illegal.
So it was not a foul on Mashburn. There you see the turnover story. Marley, Hardaway, shot clock down to 7. Mourning quickly double. Hardaway for 3. He's only scored 1 point in the first half. Rebound by Ewing.
No, but that's the shot he's got to take. He hit that shot down in Miami, and that's the shot that he can make if they leave him alone enough with it.
Kicked by Marley. They'll redo the shot clock.
You know, it's interesting. You know, Carter gave him such a lift and penetration and off the bench, and you know, they've missed him when Tim comes back in the game. But you know, Tim is not the same player that he was in the past. But a lot of people here think that he's better now in this series with his injured foot than he was last year with the bad knee, where only shot 26% in this series.
And I think people talk about injuries, but when you start hurting your legs and your feet, you know, this is a mobility game, a stops and start kind of game, and that has more of an effect on you with anybody.
Allen Houston knocks one down.
That's the first time Houston's got the ball in a long time. Sat on the bench a long time in the second quarter, but big hoop right there for a confidence boost.
New York's first lead since a 1-point advantage midway through the first quarter. Ewing and Mourning doubled by Houston. Cross court to Hardaway. Childs is there. Shot clock is down to 3. 2 by Hardaway. Rebound by Patrick Ewing again. Ewing has collected 4 rebounds. Childs trying to get by Hardaway, who knocks it away.
Yeah, in the old days when Tim got that ball out on the perimeter, he would have just attacked the basket. Right there, he knows that Chris Childs knows that he's not going to go by him, forced him into a tough shot. And Chris Childs tried to take advantage of Hardaway at the other end, but great hands by Hardaway caused the turnover.
20-second timeout by Miami. They'll have 9.8 seconds with which to work here in the second quarter, the closing seconds of the first half. And the AT&T halftime report is on deck from Atlanta. Bernie Johnson. We'll have the crew, including the Jet. And coming up this weekend, a lot of important games. Tomorrow, Game 4, Indiana against the Philadelphia 76ers. Then the tripleheader coming up on Sunday, Miami, New York, Portland, Utah. And the Blazers have just been crushing Utah. And the Lakers, they'll take on Phoenix. And after our game tonight, you'll see Game 3 of the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns from the America West Arena. So the 22nd timeout, extending a bit longer by the teachings of Pat Riley inside his huddle.
I think Miami has playing with the energy, the ball movement that they need. I think that Carter gave him a great boost off the bench. I think we're going to see more of him in this second half. They just aren't making enough shots from the perimeter and making him pay for Alonso's double teams. And you can bet that New York is going to start double teaming Alonso a lot more as this game goes on because of the great success he's having one-on-one.
Well, and I think Camby is very significant you know, to this team defensively. As being the second layer of defense, he enables Patrick to play somebody who's more mobile. When that guy beats Patrick, Camby is back there to be able to block the shot. Offensively, he's a great offensive weak side rebounder. So I think it's extremely important that he stays out of foul trouble based on what they're doing. When Camby's not in the game, New York uses a lot of junk defenses.
Camby has 3 fouls so far as you take a look at Alonzo Mourning. Coming up on the AT&T halftime report, the Spurs' Avery Johnson joins Ernie and the Jet in studio. They'll break down the first half of our game and look ahead to the Lakers-Suns matchup. And Shaq will pick his favorite star. All coming up next on the AT&T halftime report.
Aristotle shot.
Aristotle, I liked that yesterday. That was nice.
Miami still has to get more offense out of somebody other than Mash and Alonzo.
It's Mashburn going right at Larry Johnson. Ewing had a hand on it. Ewing and Mourning collide. Mourning is hurt. And the shot going astray at the end. And it may have been his right leg holding on to his right ankle. He came down funny, colliding with Patrick Ewing, but is hoisted up and will hobble off the floor. And that will take us to halftime.
He'll be back, but you can tell, I mean, Alonzo, usually this happens when they come down on someone's foot. There he jumps high in the air, ooh, and they both came down on each other's foot, but Alonzo rolled it. But he's got so much tape on that ankle, Coach. He'll be back. He's a champion.
Good first half for Allen Houston, who's standing by with Craig Sager.
Well, and at one point you guys went about 8.5 minutes without a field goal, but then you got it going. You have 12 points already as many as you had in game 2. Why are you more aggressive in getting the shots tonight?
Well, I just thank the Lord that, you know, I have the patience tonight to recognize what's a good shot for me and still be able to, you know, everybody get involved in the offense.
So many people talked about the fact that you took home court advantage away from Miami. Tonight you distributed shirts to everybody. What was behind that?
Well, it was just a slogan that we had come up a long time ago, and it just was fitting tonight. And home court doesn't do anything unless you take advantage of it.
All the players warm today in warm-ups. Thanks a lot. See you in the second half. Kevin?
All right, Craig. Allen Houston with that game-winning shot last year in this series as New York defeated Miami. This is a new year, though, and at halftime, the Knicks lead the Heat by 37-36.
The AT&T Halftime Report is brought to you by AT&T. It's all within your reach.
In game 2 of this series, just terrible shooting. These teams combined for 72 points in the first half. Tonight, 73 points in the first half. It is 37-36, the Knicks with the lead over the Heat. Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semis. And still to come tonight on TNT, it's the Lakers and the Suns, the big Aristotle. Call him whatever you will, the Baryshnikov of the court. He's also gone that way, taking on the Phoenix Suns in game 3. Shaq and the Lakers leading 2-0. It is time for the AT&T halftime report, and tonight we welcome the little general, the guy who hit the game winner.
Don't give him the corner
as
jumper.
The Spurs won the title a year ago. Avery Johnson is here tonight. Avery, it's great to see you.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you here. Kenny Smith is here. I'm Ernie Johnson, and we talk about what the San Antonio Spurs did a year ago, and I can't help but notice the thing on your right hand. Can you just show us
bling,
that
bling.
for 1 second?
The bling, bling.
That's what it's all about.
That is a championship ring. That thing is bigger than your head, man. That thing is huge. Now, this year, you could not get it done in the playoffs. Tim Duncan, obviously, I mean, his not being there, a huge factor. How did it impact you knowing that you'd go into these games without him in there?
Well, it really impacted us because you're losing your best player. You know, it's kind of like the Lakers playing without Shaq, or Sacramento playing without Chris Webber, or Seattle's playing without Gary Payton. You lose your best player, especially in the playoffs, where all of the teams are pretty well matched. It's a tough thing to overcome.
Was it more difficult offensively? You know, you guys used him a lot in the offensive or defensively, because also he's first-team all-defensive player.
Well, I think more offensively, and I know that sounds funny, but you have another guy who's a defensive player of the year in years past, David Robinson. But Tim draws double teams. He's become a really good passer out of double teams. He's a good pick-and-roll player. So I think more offensively because he helps create shots for the rest of our guys on the perimeter.
Avery, be honest with me. Could you guys have repeated if you had Tim Duncan healthy?
Well, I think it was not only Tim. You know, Jerome Kersey got hurt.
Sean Elliott situation.
Sean wasn't really 100% the whole season. But you add a Sean Elliott, you know, if he didn't need a kidney transplant and Tim doesn't get hurt in the playoffs, Jerome doesn't go down, then I think we're back in the mix. But it's tough to overcome those obstacles.
Well, you lost him for the playoffs, and myself and Ernie were talking about you might lose him for the next year. Now, have you thought about the San Antonio Spurs without Tim Duncan?
Well, it's not only Tim. I mean, we have a number of guys that are free agents, including myself.
Yourself.
But naturally, Tim is the big fish, and so it's hard to imagine the San Antonio Spurs in the next 3 or 4 years without Tim Duncan in their uniform.
You know, I know that you two guys go back a long way. You played together in Houston briefly. But you've played against each other also. We happen to have our research guys are able to find this.
I'm crossed over. Everybody crosses me over.
I thought only Steve Francis did that to you in the summertime.
Yeah, but he knows not to leave me open. You cannot leave me open, Avery. You know. And the funny thing about it, myself and Avery, even when he went on to San Antonio and went to other teams, we still worked out every summer together. So myself, he, and Ricky Pierce works out with him a lot as well. Right. We'd work out every summer, every day. So we knew each other's game a little bit.
I know. The phones are ringing off the hook. People at home saying, look, could Avery break down that little crossover move? Yeah, we happen to have the video here again. Avery, tell me how you did this to a good defender like Kenny.
Well, basically, you know, Kenny's sitting on my left hand. He doesn't want me to go to the left.
Ouch!
He doesn't have much lateral movement.
Look at the arrows, the ankle break. But no, the defensive assignment, but we got Charles Jones instead of the Dream.
No, but
where's
that was
the
Robert
Dream?
Horry in the picture, too.
No question.
Great use of arrows by the guys.
No
back
lateral
there.
movement.
That is
We will be back with more on the AT&T Halftime Report in just a second. Remember, you can check out Sync TV by simply going to NBA.com or TNT.Turner.com. Avery, in fact, is going to jump on for some cyber talk after halftime.
I'm going to email you something now, too. I'll tell you.
And Avery, we appreciate you bringing that video in tonight. That was nice.
This team is going to come out ready to play. They're going to be hitting all the shots. You know, they're here at home. The crowd's going to be behind them. So we just have to remain poised and come out here with a victory.
You know, having to beat them 4 games in a row to win, and, you know, that's not a great situation to be in. But if we win tonight, then it puts everything back into our favor, I think.
If you could have one celebrity attend a game to see you play, who would it be?
She was already there.
And that was?
Britney Spears.
Why Britney?
What do you think?
Shaq becoming a soundbite machine during these playoffs.
I tell you, man. And if Lauryn Hill wants to come to the studio, she's welcome here too. You know, no question.
All right, so how about
Britney Spears? Wow.
I'll take Lauryn Hill too. Lauryn Hill right here.
I hate to break this up, but there is another game tonight. The Lakers and the Suns. Is it going to be 3-0 LA?
Well, I think the Phoenix Suns did find a reasoning behind their cause. Basically, they know now how to play against the Los Angeles Lakers. They say, hey, we can sit down in the lap of Shaquille O'Neal and we can be successful. We're going to make Ron Harper, we're going to make Robert Horry, we're going to make Rick Fox, those guys make shots, back up off them, play basically a zone, and see what happens.
Hey, the game we're watching right now is 37-36, the Knicks over the Miami Heat. Points have been hard to come by in this series, Avery. What is your suggestion for Miami?
Well, I think Miami has to have Masburn or Mourning on the court at all times. There was a stretch here where they had Carter and Thorpe and Witherspoon, Brown, and Bowen on the floor, and it's at too critical of a point in the playoffs right now to not have one of your top 2 players on the court at all times, especially since Tim Hardaway is not 100%. So they went a stretch there where they were 0 for 8, and even if they were 2 for 8, that would improve their cause in going into the half. So you got to have one of those guys on the court at all times at this point in the playoffs.
Both teams struggling from the field, 37% for Miami, about 37.5 for New York. Zoe has 15, Sprewell 12, Allen Houston 12. It's a 1-point game, the third quarter coming up. That's it for the AT&T Halftime Report.
This copyrighted telecast of the National Basketball Association is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any retransmission, reproduction, rebroadcast, or other use or dissemination of this telecast, or the pictures, descriptions, or accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Basketball Association is prohibited.
What a night to be in New York for Game 3. The Eastern Conference Semifinals. The playoffs on TNT from New York City. Miami had 11 points in the second quarter, allowing New York to get back in the game. And late in the first half, this injury to Alonzo Mourning drew a lot of views. A painful look right there. And with more on that story, let's send it over to Craig Sager.
Alonzo Mourning will start the second half despite that painful right ankle. He was examined by Dr. Harlan Zelnick in the locker room at halftime, who found no serious damage. However, Zoe was in pain. The ankle was retaped. Now, he will play in the second half, but the major concern now is that swelling may occur after the game when the tape is removed, so he'll have to keep it in ice quite often between now and Game 4 on Sunday. Kevin?
All right, Craig, thank you very much. Zoe had a great first half.
We had a tremendous first half, but they have to do more of the same. The fast breaking, the movement on the part of both teams was not indicative of the last game. They have to keep their concentration.
And you'll see, if he could be this aggressive right here. He's very aggressive going to the basket throughout the first half, just like he talked about after Game 2 when he was 5 for 18. They're just aggressively scoring, getting to the free throw line, attacking the defense. They started double teaming and making him shoot the turnaround jump shots, but he was everything was going for him in the first half. It'll be interesting to see, though, with the injury, if he can continue that. In New York, they're shooting the ball better. Sprewell and Houston are doing a much better job of making their shots and creating offense for each other.
Sprewell looks more lively tonight, and Houston is right about 50% shooting from the field, 4 of 9.
Well, and they have to be aggressive. You have to get out in transition as he's doing now and look for the shots. When you're in your half-court sets, Houston has to do a lot of moving to get open. Now you look at that, I mean, they're passing to each other, they're getting down quickly and getting early offense.
We begin the second half. Houston to Charlie Ward, who starts the second half. Houston again. Sprewell, nice deceptive move on the oncoming defense of Mashburn. Rebound by Zoe.
They had a lot of wide open shots right there. You know, sometimes the easy open three-pointer is easier than the one dribble jump shot, and Miami's doing a good job of flying at the shooters and still defending the paint.
Do you like that?
I do like that, but, you know, I thought Charlie Ward probably should have taken that shot. He's a great three-point shooter out there, and Houston had one as well.
Shot clock at 2. Marley backing up a little bit on Houston. And a nice rebound inside by the Heat, but they can't convert.
Well, you can't do that. You can't let them hold that long, take a shot, and get back in a position to shoot it off of a rebound.
1 minute gone here in the third quarter as Ewing just received a pass from Sprewell. And a whistle and a foul. And it's called on Mashburn for the third time tonight. They're going to have to keep on top of that story as you can see some of the numbers.
That's a big call right there. Third foul on Mashburn, but 47% in the first quarter. Look all the way down to 26% for Miami. That has flashbacks of Game 2.
Houston, 9 on the shot clock. And a beautiful shot over Dan Marley on that one.
But I like that. He's got to be aggressive. We know that he's a good shooter. A shooter needs a lot of shots. If he's off, he'll get on if he keeps taking his shot, particularly if he takes it with confidence.
Switch on defense. They've got Ward on the taller Mashburn. Brown over Ewing. How in the world did that shot go in?
Well, that was a great shot. I'm not sure about the decision, but they got the mismatch by Mashburn putting Charlie Ward on him. All they do is run a 1-3 pick and roll. Hardaway and Mashburn get the switch, force the double team, anticipate the double team, and make them pay.
Knicks by 1. Larry Johnson shuffling in the paint, through the double. Sprewell did as well. Marley breaks it up. Ward gets it back. The pump fake in the trap. Oh, what a play by Charlie Ward.
First time we've seen Charlie Ward be able to score on the penetration right there. Good ball fake and great finish.
And he's got 2 tonight.
Well, he started off so aggressively the last game. You'd like to see him start doing that again because he just set a great tone for New York.
Brown, again, a second consecutive baseline fadeaway.
Well, and he's got to be solid. He's been a little bit more than solid right now. He shot over Patrick. That time he shot over Johnson.
You're acting so surprised about that, Kevin.
You don't think of offense when you think of him.
I don't, and they need some offense out of somebody. Somebody else has got to step it up besides Mashburn and Mourning.
LJ just drawing the double every time he Takes it inside, offering passes like this to Sprewell. Shot clock at 2, and Spree forced to fire and knocks it in.
Same way we started the first half. Both teams shooting the ball extremely well.
Johnny's got 14.
Well, and he needs 14. He needs more than 14. Houston's got to get in it too, and because the Knicks need scoring from both of those guys.
Scoring is picked up. The effervescent Sprewell knocked it away. Shot clock down to 8. The hustling of Sprewell again, much more active in game 3 than the previous 2 games we've seen in this series.
He just has great energy out there, great athleticism. That's his game, getting in the open court, pressuring the ball. He's not a great spot-up shooter, so he needs the game to be scrambled up a little.
8 seconds to shoot, 3 minutes gone in the third. Hardaway trolls the perimeter. Mourning lost the ball. Ewing the last to touch it. 2 seconds on the shot clock. In game 1, the Miami backcourt combined for 10 points. Tonight, 7 points. And Hardaway just a single tally on his ledger.
Yeah, on a technical free throw.
Yeah,
that's how he got his, but Carter did a great job.
Hardaway the miss. Offensive rebound by Mourning. Shoved by LJ, and a foul on Larry Johnson.
Well, right now the Heat are doing a much better job on the offensive boards. New York cannot get an offensive rebound. Not only did they only shoot 37% in the first half, but they only got 2 offensive boards. Miami doing a much better job on the offensive glass.
Well, in that time, it looked like they played the clock almost and lost sight of the fact that they had a weak side rebounder over there to go up. I mean, you got to let the referee officiate the game and let the clock take care of itself, but you better touch somebody and box out.
Miami is plus 13 in rebounding tonight. Hardaway, Mashburn, plenty of time on the shot clock. Mashburn 3 of 9 tonight, now 3 of 10. And that ball is flicked away. And a loose ball foul called on Alonzo Mourning, who scared Pat Riley just before halftime with the twisted ankle. Appears to be hale and hearty, but he did just pick up his second foul.
You know, I've seen guys do that same thing. On replay, we saw how severely he rolled that ankle and missed 2 months. That guy's back playing, not just playing, but playing with the kind of energy he's playing.
Very good point.
Well, in particular after halftime, you'd wonder once it got cold whether he'd be able to come out here and play. Certainly you hope it doesn't react after the game.
Nice move by Ward. Good ball rotation by the Knicks. Shot clock at 5. Johnson trying to take it across the lane. Ward jousting against Zoe, and a foul called on Miami. Now Alonzo Mourning was in the vicinity. Mourning picks up his 3rd foul, his 2nd in the last couple seconds. And by the way, there was 1 second remaining on the shot clock when that foul took place.
Good play by Charlie Ward. Again, you know, New York, you can see their game plan is to continue to play through the clock to 24 seconds and to continue to attack.
Pretty well.
They got open jump shots everywhere.
Right. And Sprewell will go to the line. And a foul, a 4th foul called on Alonzo Mourning. And Pat Riley is in agony. But 3 fouls on Alonzo in 1 minute's time.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not sure. They're trying to say P.J. Brown committed it. The whole bench is over there. Riley, P.J. Brown's trying to plead the case, saying the foul was on him. But Danny Crawford's hearing none of it.
And Sprewell hits the first free throw.
Right here, Sprewell does a great job of jumping up there to contest. Alonzo got called for just sticking his hand in the back. Good call by the official right there. Touchy foul, but you can't just shove a shooter from the behind side.
Well, what Alonzo has to be very careful of, well, it's almost too late to be very careful of it, is that you have a great first half, you have a tendency to relax a little bit, and you lose your focus a little bit. You've got to stay focused in this game for the entire game.
3 fouls in 26 seconds on Alonzo Mourning. So Weatherspoon is in. They lose a great deal of size and offense. Mashburn may have to take more on his shoulders, as will Hardaway. The illegal defense blown on the Knicks.
Well, what they also lose, Kevin, is a great deal of scoring. And I think it's extremely important that you look now to see how Riley substitutes, because you've got to keep Mashburn out there. Hardaway, you know, you've got to be careful unless you can get transition baskets, because you need him too. They don't have the inside punch that they had. Their first option was inside scoring.
Hardaway's going to have to do more. Danny, 1 point so far. Now, how, Danny, will Miami survive this?
Well, they need to get something. You know, P.J. Brown's got a couple of post-up plays here in the 3rd quarter. They need to get something out of Weatherspoon. Marley's got to hit some shots, and, you know, Carter gave him a big lift, but somebody else has to pick up the slack. It's that simple.
Shot clock is at 8. Mashburn to Marley. Weatherspoon, 2 seconds to shoot with the drive in the lane and left free to fire.
Well, he answers the call because I think he is the one that definitely has to step up and give Mashburn some help inside. I really feel that Hardaway's role is to run this offense, and particularly because he's having difficulty with his injury. He's valuable to them in controlling the tempo of the game, even though he hasn't scored a lot.
Ewing again, bumping and grinding for his shot, which hit the side of the backboard and picked up by Miami. And here comes Mashburn, who outweighs his defender Sprewell by almost 50 pounds. Hardaway dribbled off his foot, picked up by Sprewell. Mashburn and Hardaway back on defense, and Spree, trying to split the two, is fouled as he goes to the line. The 4th foul has just been put on Hardaway.
Well, that's very fortunate that this foul wasn't called on Mashburn. Mashburn was bound to stop it. Great defense there by Larry Johnson. Hardaway trying to split it, but Mashburn's the only one back on defense, and they call that on Hardaway.
Sprewell at the stripe again.
You can't tell me the officials don't know if Mashburn goes out, the game might be in jeopardy right there.
Oh, come on.
Come on, that ball, Hardaway was nowhere near that. Mashburn grabbed him. I like the call. Leave him in the game. Mashburn's committing double team, getting double teamed right now at the other end of the court and creating all the offense for Miami.
Well, Sprewell's doing a very smart thing too, Dan. He's pushing the ball so fast, and you've got Timmy in the game who definitely has some injury problem, and that causes them to run backwards a little bit faster than they want to.
Here comes Weatherspoon. Inside, knocked away and out of bounds. Shot clock is at 10.
Well, it looks like that was blocked by Patrick.
Ewing is there. They can sense it in New York. The Knicks have their biggest lead of 5, 47-42. Coming up next on TNT, the Los Angeles Lakers, who have yet to win a playoff game this year on the road, take on the Phoenix Suns. A miraculous shot by Kobe in Game 2 sets up Game 3 tonight, as Penny Hardaway has been shooting well in the first 2 games. Lakers and Phoenix next, Game 3 on TNT. There was some dispute as to whether Hardaway had his 3rd or his 4th foul. It indeed is his 3rd. The computer screen that we see here courtside was wrong. They've corrected that, and it is his 3rd foul.
Well, Hardaway's not important right now. Carter's played better than him actually in this game, but the fact that they didn't call it on Mashburn was a huge break for Miami.
The shooting this quarter, Mashburn is, though, out there with 3 as Brown drives, and it was knocked away by the Knicks with a second to shoot. Alonzo Mourning is on the Miami bench, and he does have 4 fouls.
See how fast PJ went around Patrick that time, Coach?
Yeah, but he made a mistake in not putting his shoulder into him, though.
24-second shot clock violation.
See, the difference in Alonzo going around him is Alonzo's physicalness as well as his quickness in going around him. PJ has done an excellent job, but he tried to go around him, and by the fact that he cut so wide, he enabled one of the perimeter guys to knock the ball loose.
6.5 to play in the 3rd. Heat shooting 36%, Knicks 40%. Johnson rotates to Ward, who creates his shot with P.J. Brown on him.
That's a great play by Charlie. He's had a lot of open opportunities to shoot. That was probably the most difficult shot that he's taken all night. He didn't happen to go in.
He stepped back that one step, which made the difference.
That's the step back.
Well, they're a far better team when he's really aggressive, pushing the ball, looking for his shot when he's open. He doesn't have to press the issue, but in the same token, as Danny indicates, he's got to look for his shot.
Knicks have their biggest lead, illegal defense blown on the New York Knicks. As the officials confer, and they may rescind it.
You know, this is funny. They called it on Sprewell. It was strong side. Sprewell was legal, but Charlie Ward was completely illegal. And the officials called it on Sprewell. They were on the wrong guy. That's what Pat Riley's arguing about. He's saying Charlie Ward is illegal.
So there was no illegal defense. Like a couple times tonight, they've changed calls, and they've changed the player. They changed this. As Hardaway pleads his case for Pat Riley. Shot clock at 3. Sprewell knocks it away on the quick inbound. Now we're going to see Anthony Carter check in. Tim Hardaway will take a breather. And 3 seconds again on the shot clock.
This is the soonest Carter's been in, so, you know, that first half, obviously, Pat Riley was very pleased with how he played.
Weatherspoon to Brown, left uncovered, good if it goes. Rebound by New York, and here comes Houston. The Knicks now up to 42% shooting in the game. Slashing is Ward, outside to Johnson, swings it to Houston for 3. Over the backboard, not out of bounds.
Well, that was good movement. I mean, they're playing at a faster pace. I think it helps a lot with Miami by having Carter in the game, because if you get Ward to moving quicker, if you get the smaller perimeter people pushing the ball a lot faster, you're going to need the speed of Carter in the game.
You agree, Danny?
Absolutely. I think Carter gave him a big boost in the first half. Just loose balls, energy. You know, Timmy just isn't himself, and he's not giving you anything anyway. Might as well have your best defense and your best open court player out there.
Weatherspoon against Johnson, and he devours him inside.
Well, and that's what they need. Weatherspoon's got to step up, particularly with Alonzo on the bench. Weatherspoon's got a big, powerful body, and they can get still some post-up baskets from Weatherspoon.
Approaching 5 to play here in the third. Marley. The suffocating defense, but he falls, and Houston tries to exploit it, but can't. Here comes Miami.
Good shot by Houston. Good patience. Put the ball on the floor, and it just hasn't been able to make him. He's had 2 wide open shots last 2 times down.
He's 6 of 12. Brown. 3 in a row off that left baseline for P.J. Brown.
Well, and that's what they're trying to do. Now they're using the pick and roll to create the double team. Again, I think they don't have to trap it so strong outside on the perimeter, because Miami's just taking the shots, wide open shots, before the rotation is getting there off of the pick and rolls.
Johnson thought about 3, accelerates, wanted to hand to Ewing, ball knocked away. Another New York Knicks turnover. And now they've got 9 inside. P.J. Brown, 8 points in this third quarter.
Well, P.J. Brown's doing a little bit of everything right now, and I'm really impressed with that he's doing it now when Alonzo's not in the game, because he's taking the heat now. When Alonzo's in the game, he takes the pressure off of him, but for him to step up right now is extremely important.
Here comes Ewing. Working into Brown, who stays with them, but is no match for the power of Patrick Ewing.
Well, that's the 3rd time that Patrick has driven his man hard into the middle where there's help, and spun away from the help for the baseline uncontested shot. Good offense by Patrick, but not very sound defense by Miami.
You think he needs a few more touches?
I think he's having some flashbacks.
Anthony Carter with the miss. Rebound Weatherspoon. He's come up big for Alonzo Mourning, like right there.
Well, and that's good. I mean, because again, he's the guy that's on the block. PJ's doing a lot of picking, a lot of slicing, a lot of medium range jumper, but they need a post-up presence, and Spoon is supplying that at a time that is needed.
Alonzo Mourning on the bench with 4 fouls, and P.J. Brown and Weatherspoon are taking over. A deceptive move by Sprewell, but he can't find 2. Marley the rebound. Here comes Carter shifting gears the other way. That's knocked away by Ward. That was a pass inside, knocked away by Charlie Ward. P.J. Brown has had a monster third quarter.
And you look where P.J. Brown is. He's behind everybody all the way to the baseline. Next thing you know, he's out running the entire front court. Patrick's 10 feet behind him, giving up the easy dunk to P.J. He's been able to take advantage of his speed while Alonzo was out.
8 points in the third quarter for P.J. Brown.
NBA Playoffs 2000 on TNT. Brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. Drivers wanted. By Sunkist, one nation under the sun. And by Power Bar. Don't mock.
Shouldn't play with matches.
When Clint Eastwood directs and stars in a movie, it never gets old. See Pale Rider, Sunday night at 8 on TNT.
We got to do our job. They double team and they rotate. The ball's got to swing. We got to get the ball in some to the weak side post. We've been shooting free throws for the last 4 minutes. We got to get in the paint. We got to make them fouls.
Weatherspoon guarded by newly instated Marcus Camby. Shot clock at 2. Camby got a hand on the ball. Patrick Ewing gives it off to Charlie Ward.
That's 2 jump shots in a row by Weatherspoon that haven't even got out of his hand yet.
Well, the mismatch size-wise, Danny, is sizable. Inside, Ward driving, and a whistle. Check that out. Offensive foul called on Ewing for a second time. Craig, what do you have?
Well, you may be wondering why P.J. Brown is not in the game because he was playing so well. Well, there's a rule in the league you have to wear pants. The string on his pants broke, so he had to run down inside the locker room. That's why they called the timeout. He has switched his drawers, and he should be back soon. Kevin?
Good job. You told us about Sprewell getting in a car wreck and about new drawers for P.J. Brown. Great work, Craig. And here's Weatherspoon from outside. He is on fire. Outside and inside. Spoon with 8 points in the third. P.J. Brown with 8 points in the third in place of Alonzo Mourning on the bench with 4.
You got to calm down, man. He just had his last 2 shots blocked, but that time he had space. Got the wide open shot.
In space for Ward.
Well, this guy should be taking more shots if he can hit the shots the way he's been doing, particularly in the last game and this game. He's a very passive person as far as his offense is concerned, but obviously he has more offensive abilities than he's been initiating shots.
I agree. I think Chris Childs the same way. I think both of them should take more shots.
3 by Jamal Mashburn from outside.
Well, they want to get Jamal more shots, but he's been getting double-teamed every time he touches it. That time he was the beneficiary of a double team.
We were asking how Miami was going to weather Mourning on the bench, and they've weathered it just fine.
Well, they've weathered it well because some of the guys have stepped up. Spoon, even though he had his shot block, he's aggressively looking for his offense. He's not being tentative. Mashburn is looking for his shots, but also that they're pushing the ball down the court.
Sprewell just looked like a pinball, bouncing off one guy, deflecting off another.
Yeah, you know, Thorpe jumps out to try to trap Sprewell in that pick and roll. He's not quick enough, didn't move his feet, and shoved him before Weatherspoon had a chance to take the charge.
Miami leads by 1. When Alonzo Mourning went out, Miami was trailing 45-40 when his 4th foul was called. He had 3 fouls in the second half within a 26-second span. Now, with unlikely performances from Weatherspoon and P.J. Brown, Miami has weathered the absence of Mourning, easily their best player, and they trail by a point as Sprewell makes 2 free throws right there.
Well, particularly when you take Alonzo out of the game, you take Hardaway out of the game, some of these guys have really stepped up and deserve a lot of credit for doing it. Rather than being tentative, they are looking for their shots.
Mashburn, who just hit a 3, is blanketed by Ward. It's Weatherspoon uncovered for 2. Missing there, Kurt Thomas in the game, with Ewing taking a breather on the bench, picks up the rebound.
Well, you know, Sprewell got to the free throw line last night. That's what last time. That's what Van Gundy said. You know, they've been in the penalty for a while and haven't taken advantage of it. They need to continue to drive it and try to get free throws.
Sprewell to Camby. And out of bounds off the New York Knicks. Ricochets away with 36 seconds to play in the third quarter.
A little too hyper on that whole play. You know, Sprewell's playing with a lot of energy, but they're just throwing passes that are too hard to handle. A little bit too much excitement at the offensive end for New York that time.
Look at the difference in free throw attempts. 19 free throw tries for the Knicks. 8 free throw tries for the Heat. Outside, Carter with the miss. New York has it. They'll work down the final seconds of the third quarter.
The Knicks have been pushing the ball a lot and been trying to penetrate a lot also. And I think it's extremely important that Miami gets the ball inside and penetrate a little bit more than they have been.
Houston in a straitjacket, got it away, and outside at the buzzer, good if it goes, and Camby can't get it to go in. Miami, with the hurricane warnings out because of Mourning's 4 fouls, got incredible 8-point performances in the third quarter alone from both P.J. Brown and Clarence Weatherspoon. Thus, our fourth quarter plans to be a beauty. The Knicks at the end of 3 on top, 56-55. Times Square. We're in New York. What a better place to be? I don't know. These are the playoffs on TNT. And the excitement of this city is inside the Garden tonight. Time now for the Buzzer Rent-A-Car Fast Break. You see the fast break points about the same, but a pretty big disparity in rebounding and free throws.
Free throws are the key right there. 17-6 on the free throw line. That's keeping them in the game because you see that Miami's out rebounding New York. But those free throws are huge.
Knicks only have 2 offensive rebounds in the game. One each for Houston and Sprewell. We start the fourth quarter. Remember, in game 2, the starter for the Knicks shot just 31%, yet they won. Tonight, without Alonzo Mourning, Miami trailed by 5 when he left the game. They led by 1, and now going to the fourth, they trail by a point. So they have thrived when Mourning's been out. Marley for 3, and from way outside, and he missed everything.
Well, you know, Marley was left with the ball with 4 seconds under the shot clock. He had no choice but to shoot the ball from there. Not very good offensive execution that time by Miami coming out of a timeout.
Chris Childs is in as the guard now for the New York Knicks, who send Ward to the bench. Isolating on Weatherspoon is Johnson. And they stay that way, and he can't contort a shot up. Rebound by Mashburn.
Well, with no motion and you posted him up, he's got to make the shot because you don't have any chance of getting any offensive rebound because there was no form of movement.
Good movement here by Miami. Mashburn, the mismatch against Childs, on top to Carter. He's had a tough night shooting until right there.
Well, that's a shot that New York's defense wants him to shoot. But again, you know, those are the easy shots when there's no time left on the shot clock. And, you know, they're creating the double teams, or they're creating the mismatches with the pick and rolls of the 3-man and the 1-man.
Miami on top by a point. Johnson. Kurt Thomas working inside on Jamal Mashburn. Illegal defense. It'll be a technical shot in possession. What about these double teams, Danny?
Well, they're finally making them pay. Right here, they double teamed, and here they rotated all the way around to the mismatch, but there's the double team, and Carter just beats the bigger Marcus Camby off the dribble for a wide-open 15-foot shot.
Here's Sprewell, John, who's a perfect 10 of 10 from the free throw line tonight with the technical shot, 11 of 11.
Well, and I like his attitude starting from the beginning of the game. I mean, he came out, he was very aggressive. You know, he was in an attack mode. I thought that was extremely necessary to do that rather than to be passive. His game is a transition game. His game is a cutting, a driving game. He can't lay back.
It's an emotional game, and he didn't show that really much in game 1 or game 2.
Well, absolutely. But this game, certainly, he did come out fired up.
He's back home. Camby, Sprewell. And Sprewell the drive with a hand check called on Mashburn. Is that his 4th? It is. So Mashburn's got 4. Alonzo Mourning's got 4. And they're going to bring Bruce Bowen off the bench. And again, Mourning is still on there, and Hardaway remains on the bench.
Well, and Riley's getting away with a luxury that I didn't realize he had, simply because Witherspoon played well, Brown played well. He can afford to keep Alonzo on the bench, particularly with Hardaway being on the bench. When these guys step up and play, that gives him a little cushion to experiment a little bit and to also to save Alonzo from getting in foul trouble in case this game goes into overtime.
Camby just threw it away.
Well, the biggest reason that Miami has a chance to stay in this game is because New York is shooting 40% from the field, only 2 offensive rebounds. They're not taking advantage of the offensive end with Alonzo's presence on the defensive glass and the shot blocking ability. So New York's inept offense right now has not made them pay either.
Both teams are shooting 40% from the field.
Well, and particularly when they're moving, Danny, I agree with you 100% because they're trying to post Larry. Larry's moving back in slowly, and the weak side help is there.
Weatherspoon plows his way inside. The Knicks thought it might be a jump ball, but they've thrown another foul on Marcus Camby. He picks up his 4th foul of the game as Weatherspoon goes in tight.
And it's not as critical for Camby to be in foul trouble because typically he's not on the court the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game when Patrick comes back in. So I think Van Gundy will stay with Marcus Camby.
Why bring back in Zoe? Let him rest. He's nursing 4 fouls when these other 2 kids, Brown and Weatherspoon, have taken over here in the second half, his scoring in particular.
Well, absolutely. They've stepped up, so that allows him the cushion of being able to leave Alonzo on the bench just a little bit longer than he might want to.
I think what he's trying to do is buy time to the mandatory timeout inside 10 minutes, and then I think we'll see Alonzo back in the game. Knicks dead ball.
It'd be a good time to put him in.
Yeah, he's been sitting over there a while, and they need him out there on the court defensively and to create some offense.
Childs mismatch on Weatherspoon. He'll try to exploit, feeding inside Thomas. And the elusive Childs inside. Can't get it. Brown is there. Now to Carter, who races the other way. Johnson is on him. Camby is on Weatherspoon. The muscle of Weatherspoon. The rejection by Camby. They trigger it out to Sprewell, 1-on-2, and he curls to save time and reload, and it goes into Thomas. Sprewell Hustling Camby. Volleyballs it back to Johnson.
Well, it's unfortunate when you play that kind of defense that Miami played, and then you let them get an offensive rebound like that. It's nothing any more discouraging to a coach for that to happen.
Weatherspoon the block. Thorpe hooks it inside. Carter is there. Bowen thinks about three. The deceptive move. Carter. Weatherspoon. Shot. Make it Brown from outside. The rebound by Camby.
Both teams just look so hyper. I mean, they're putting so much energy on the defensive end that offensively they're just out of control. Their shots and their decisions are too out of control right now. There's no poise or patience.
Timeout taken.
We've seen this a lot of times in this series so far. Weatherspoon trying to use his strength to back in Camby. He's just too long for him to get easy opportunities underneath.
It's the Heat by 1 at the Garden.
Point on a 1-4 offensive formation. Kobe Bryant pulls up for the shot and hits the basket with 2.6 to go, giving the Lakers the lead. What a heroic basket by Kobe Bryant.
And he was defense as good as you can be defense. On his elevation, the defenders were right there in his face.
And the third chapter of that story is tonight. Right after our game here at Madison Square Garden, it'll be Game 3 on TNT as the Los Angeles Lakers take on the Phoenix Suns. And again, when they played Sacramento, the Lakers lost both their road games in that first round in Northern California. So they're still looking for their first road playoff win in this 2000 postseason. Otis Thorpe is in with Weatherspoon, Bowen, P.J. Brown, and Carter. And Danny, you thought they might bring in Alonzo Mourning. They have not.
Well, they still have a 1-point lead. I understand what Pat Riley's doing. You know, Alonzo is a foul-prone guy. He picked up 3 fouls in about a minute. So as long as he can stay close right here, maybe he'll give Alonzo a few more minutes.
New York has not had a field goal in the last 5 minutes, and they've got 9 seconds with which to work here. Johnson to Childs. Sprewell trying to wiggle his way free. Lost it again. Picked up by Miami. Some of that Miami defense again.
Well, it is, and New York is taking the ball deep into the Miami defense, and then they don't have any options because they're trapping, they're covering up smaller players.
Brown to Bowen. Weatherspoon, shot clock at 1. Oh, rejected again by Camby inside. They call the 24-second shot clock violation. But watch the incredible leaping ability and timing of Marcus Camby.
You know, Weatherspoon is trying to take the ball to the basket, but I mean, that's like the 4th or 5th time in the last 2 games. He's got to learn. If they keep a stat on how many times you get your shot blocked.
Well, and he's got to really, Danny, put his body into him a lot more so that he can't jump, because Camby is so long and so quick.
And complete dominance tonight in terms of block shots for the Knicks over Miami. Weatherspoon lost his shoe, and this will open the door for Alonzo Mourning carrying his 4 fouls to come back in the game. Bowen picked up his first foul in that process. Miami has had 3 shot clock violations in this game. New York now will try to exploit at the other end. Knicks down by 1. Bowen there with the theft. And a foul called on Allen Houston. And Houston is hit with his second of the game.
Well, again, and that's an example. You've got to put people into motion. You've got to put the ball into motion. It's very easy to anticipate a steal when you're somebody like Bowen, who's real quick, or somebody like Carter, who's quick, if all of the people that you're guarding are standing still.
John Ewing back in the game for the Knicks.
Well, and I think that that's good, particularly now. They probably wanted to keep him out a little bit longer to give him some rest, but as Danny indicated, you've got to get some offense from somewhere, and you've got to try to get some from him on the inside now.
Here's Otis Thorpe with 10 to shoot, driving on Camby and drove by him and got the shot away, but it wouldn't drop. And here comes Chris Childs the other way. Picked up by Carter. Hardaway is on the bench. Johnson has been quiet in the second half, isolating against Mourning. Shot clock is down to 6. It's Thorpe guarding Ewing with the bump, and the ball charged free. And here comes Carter the other way. A New York turnover. They've got 15 for Miami.
New York's just throwing the ball all around the perimeter. I don't like the decisions they're making out of the double teams. but they're moving the ball quick, but they're not getting any production whatsoever.
Well, they've had too many possessions, and you're absolutely correct. They've had too many possessions where they've come up with absolutely nothing.
P.J. Brown with 14 points. He's got 10 rebounds. He has been the star for the Miami Heat, who lead the Knicks by 3 in the fourth.
This is Dick Stockton in Phoenix, and the scene shifts to the America West Arena, where the Lakers lead the Suns 2-0, but the Suns hope the home court will be the boost to get them back in the series. This is really the pivotal game for Phoenix. Coming up next, right now, let's go back to Kevin Harlan in New York.
Thank you, Dick. The Western Conference home court has been tough. 20-3, the home court team. As you take a look at Katie Couric here courtside tonight, there's Woody Allen. Tough ticket to get. And Jerry Seinfeld with his new bride. With Star Jones looking fashionable. And Peter Boyle. And that guy. Under 7 to play here in the fourth quarter. Houston over the defending Alonzo Mourning. Huge shot.
A great execution coming out of the timeout. If he didn't want the jump shot, he had Patrick on the inside with Marley guarding him. So good execution.
When they got that offensive movement, the Knicks only have 3 offensive rebounds. They're not going to be able to get more than that if they don't get some kind of movement to move these big players around.
Mourning inside, doubled by Childs, and Ewing, and throws it in with ease.
Well, that was a heck of a play because Childs had him and Patrick came over, and he still took his time and put that up.
And Patrick cheated right there. Both coaches getting good execution coming out of the timeouts.
Heat by 3, approaching the halfway point of the fourth quarter. Childs to Camby to Houston. Marley is right there. And Camby tried to drive inside. Ball knocked away. Camby saves it. Goes diving into the crowd. It's still loose and vacuumed in by Brown. Camby is okay.
Well, that's the way the game is supposed to be played. You don't call the ball when it's on the floor. You go get it.
Carter on top to Thorpe. Here comes Marley. Shot clock at 7. Wheeling down the lane. Rejected magnificently inside by Marcus Camby. He's playing tennis with the shots of the Heat tonight.
He's playing tackle football right there. He's playing outside linebacker on Marley going to the basket right there. But, you know, the officials have done a great job in this game, and you can just sense a little bit right now they're just going to try to, you know, not control the game. Let the players control the game.
Camby with 6 blocked shots. He's given incredible energy to the New York Knicks tonight with a timeout on the floor and 5.5 to play in the fourth quarter. 62-59. The Heat on top by 3. And there was a tough moment tonight for the Miami Heat in this game 3. Alonzo Mourning got 3 fouls, 3 of his 4, within 26 seconds of one another. But other players stepped up, like P.J. Brown, who is incredible with plays like that. And then Clarence Weatherspoon.
Yeah, Weatherspoon's had a tough time with the percentage-wise. He's had a lot of shots blocked, but he did give them the offense they needed. And the offense and the Miami defense hasn't lost a step in Mourning's absence either.
And if they do go on to win this game, John, those 2 guys will have their fingerprints all over a Miami win.
Well, definitely so. The thing that you notice is a sense of urgency. These guys understand that we're coming down the stretch. Both teams have intensified a little bit more, but I really like the way Miami feels that they have an opportunity to get that home court advantage back that they lost down there the other day.
5 seconds to shoot. Mourning shooting from outside with the rebound by Charlie Ward now, who is in for Chris Childs.
I tell you what, another guy that's had a huge impact for Miami, I think, is Carter. He came in very early in the third quarter and has done a magnificent job just with his athleticism.
He stays in the game right now. Thorpe picks up a foul right there. Tim Hardaway has been on the bench a good part of this game as the veteran Thorpe picks up a foul, and that is his 3rd of the game.
They've done a good job, but you see Marley, he's just all over Houston. It is so hard for him to free himself, taking away the baseline drive, trapping him coming off of pick and rolls. Thorpe was just a little bit late getting there. Houston did a good job of drawing the contact.
When he seems, Danny, a little bit more aggressive than he did the last game in trying to receive. Anytime you're a good player, you're going to have a tough player guarding you because they have to be able to stop you.
Mourning got in the way and may have altered the shot by Ewing. Mashburn back in at the other end. The leaping try by Mourning ricochets off his palms and out of bounds.
He was wide open when Carter initially got it, and Patrick was recovering the whole time. Threw the ball a little bit too late when Mourning wasn't expecting it.
Approaching 5 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. Both teams shooting 37%. Separation by Houston. A couple times he's done that on Marley tonight.
Well, and I like that. I mean, he's being more aggressive, and that's the thing that's very important for him. He's got to realize that an aggressive player like Dan Marley will always be on him, and he's got to really be tough offensively and give the referee a lot of options to call fouls by his aggressiveness.
1-point game, Heat on top. Here comes Mourning driving across the lane and flipping it outside with a foul called on the New York Knicks. Ewing picks up the foul.
Yeah, this is a very difficult shot right here by Houston, too. You know, Marley is so much stronger than him, but you can see that he wants the ball. He's fighting hard for post position. He just drives him hard, raises up, shoots it right over the top of Marley using his quickness.
Ewing's got 3 fouls. Shot clock at 10. Mashburn had just checked in for Thorpe. Marley to Carter. Shot clock at 2. He'll have to fire a 3. Canby got in the way of Brown. Loose on the floor. Diving for it, the Heat. Brown comes out of the pack and digs it back for the Heat.
Well, that's a perfect example of aggressiveness of the Miami team. I mean, New York had an opportunity to get that. Miami just out-hustled them and were able to get that loose ball.
Marley on top. Quickly faced with the double. Carter swings it off on the side. Jamal Mashburn. Oh, right between the eyes.
Yeah, he's been sitting over there in foul trouble for a long time, too. Another big shot, but a weak side offense off the double teams of Dan Marley out here at the NBA logo. I don't understand why they have to trap him that far away from the basket.
Heat by 3 with 3:36 to play. Whistle blew as Marley was defending Allen Houston on the baseline. Foul is called on Marley, and he is tagged with his 3rd.
Right there, great energy by PJ. Strips the ball, gets down. Everybody's fighting for the ball, and it gets a wide open jump shot right there by Jamal Mashburn. Good pump fake. Big play by PJ, creating that offense.
Houston corkscrews up a shot.
Well, I like this. Now, see, this is a totally different Allen Houston from the last game. This guy is a great shooter. He's moving without the ball well. He's being very aggressive, and he wants the ball. You get the ball if you want the ball.
He's got 20 points, and Houston has 6 in the fourth quarter. Mourning draws the double. Marley is left free. Back to zone. One-on-one with Ewing. The double by Houston. 3 seconds to shoot. Down goes Ewing. Mourning shot. Oh, what a shot!
Well, it was a very tough shot. It might have been a charge, might have been called when he started to drive and Patrick fell back. But then he came out of it and still had the focus to make that shot. That was a very tough shot.
And he hit it with 1 second on the shot clock. That was gigantic by Alonzo Mourning. Marley picks up his 4th foul at the other end. But watch this play.
Well, double team right there. Good drive. Patrick's taking away the middle right there. Does a great job. Good contest. Hey, you got to give Alonzo credit. That's a big-time shot.
Mourning's got 19. The Heat lead by 3 late in New York.
Ernie Johnson in Atlanta. Remember, still to come tonight on TNT. It's Game 3 from America West in Phoenix as the Suns try to make a dent in the Lakers' 2-0 series lead in the Western Conference Best of 7. That's right after the Heat and the Knicks. Let's get back to Madison Square Garden. Kevin Harlan, John Thompson, Danny Ainge.
EJ, thank you. Great play tonight from Allen Houston. 20 points in the game. 6 have come in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's done a great job. He's just confident. Here he goes to the free throw line again. But just the shots that he was all missing in Miami, he's knocking them down right here. Tough shots. Dan Marley's playing terrific defense on him. Nothing else they can do.
New York has a foul to give. There's the timeout situation with Miami's 3-point lead. Neither team has led in double figures tonight. And it's been back and forth. As Houston from the free throw line puts it in. We saw horrible free throw shooting Tuesday in Miami, and both teams, John, it seems, have rectified that. The Knicks tonight, 19 of 21. Miami, 7 of 10.
Well, you have to put bygones behind you when you're in the playoffs. Now we've got to step up and make these shots.
7 fourth-quarter points for Allen Houston. Hardaway remains on the bench, and Carter is in the game, continuing at the point.
Yeah, you can tell the confidence that Pat Riley has in Carter. He really likes the defensive energy right here, and you know, the only difference is that Hardaway could make that shot, that three-point shot.
Although Hardaway is 0 of 5 tonight. Mourning over Ewing, gets his miss, trying to go back up again. Fighting inside, that shot won't go. Rebound by Allen Houston.
Well, Miami had a double chance to be able to put that back, but and the Knicks have got to stop that from happening. You can't let them shoot the ball and let them get the ball back and put the ball back in the basket.
Good defense by P.J. Brown. Ewing didn't make it. And Mourning picks up his 7th rebound of the game. 2 minutes to play.
Well, that's twice, Patrick. They've taken away his middle drive right there and forcing him to shoot the ball baseline. Last time it barely hit the backboard. That time he shoots it 2 feet over the basket. Good scouting report defense.
Mourning from outside. Rebound by Ewing, his 7th of the game. Sprewell has 21. Houston has 21. This is the game that New York has been waiting for from these two high-scoring players throughout this particular series. Ward drives inside.
What a play. What a play.
The New York Knicks have tied the game at 66.
Right here, you can see all the commotion going down along the baseline. Nobody's there to come weak side help. PJ can't get there in time. Great play by Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward gashes the Miami defense for his 9th point tonight, all in the second half.
NBA Playoffs 2000 on TNT. Brought to you by Hyundai. Every Hyundai is backed by America's best warranty with 10 years powertrain coverage. By Merrill Lynch, who invites you to log on to ML.com. By FreeInternet.com. Get unlimited free and anonymous internet access with FreeInternet.com. And by 1010-220. Dial it and talk up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents.
It's game 2 coming up next on TNT from the America West Arena. The Los Angeles Lakers have lost their only 2 playoff games on the road this year by 8 and by 13 points. And they lead that series 2 games to none. The co-rookies of the year, Elton Brand on the left and Steve Francis of Houston on the right. 1 foul to give for the New York Knicks. We're tied at 66. Shot clock is down to 9. Marley to Mashburn. Houston is the defense. Mashburn drives and fires. Mourning is there to vacuum in the ball. Reverse layup won't go, and a foul called inside.
Oh, great defense right there by the New York Knicks. They just forgot to keep Alonzo off the glass.
Well, and that's a great big forgetting, because you've got to definitely put a body on him coming to the board. Patrick steps over to try to give support to the defense. One of the guards need to rotate back, or somebody needs to rotate back to put a body on Alonzo, particularly once the ball's in the air.
Mourning in these free throws, 59% from the line. Tonight, 5 of 6. Spike Lee trying to put the hex on Mourning. He hits him, he gives him a lead. Wow. That's the old Georgetown bounce right there.
Well, so much for the hex stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Spike's got a partner with him down there putting the hex on, too.
The lead is 2. Big free throws by Alonzo Mourning, who winks at John Thompson as he goes by. Larry Johnson on the bench. Camby, Houston, Sprewell, Ward, and Ewing. The 5 for the New York Knicks. Shot clock here at 9. Houston fighting ever so hard for his shot. The tap-in try by Camby won't go.
Great effort by Camby right there. That would have been a spectacular play.
And that's what he does so well, coming in from the weak side. Someone had better put a body on him. Body on Alonzo when the shot goes up.
Shot clock at 6. Mashburn, Carter, who drives inside on Ward and misses the shot. Rebound by Ewing. And a timeout taken by the New York Knicks. 24.9 seconds on the big clock and a full allotment on the shot clock. 68-66, the Heat by 2.
On creating good shots. Creating good shots. We're going to be aggressive in this possession and attack, but we're going to live with open shots.
What he's talking about right there, he wants to be aggressive in the initial thrust, whether it's Sprewell or Houston or Patrick getting the ball, looking to attack, but trust your teammates. Pass the ball to the open man. You take the open shot as opposed to the one-on-one force shot.
Neither team a foul to give. 24.9 seconds in the game. They've got it at 23 seconds on the shot clock. New York with Camby, Ward, Ewing, Sprewell, and Houston. Miami with Brown, Carter, a rookie, Dan Marley, Mourning, and Mashburn. For the tie. Rebound, Camby. Knocked away, back to Sprewell for the lead. Rebound, Ewing. Out of bounds and off of Miami.
Two great looks right there. Charlie Ward, a wide open three. We talked about it. He was probably going to be the one to get the shot right there. Good play by Houston, too. Good fadeaway jump shot.
They have their chances. 6.1 seconds on the clock. Heat holding on to a 2-point lead. Well, the New York Knicks had two good looks at the basket.
Yeah, right here they're trying to set a screen across for Houston. He does a good job, gets a good screen right there. Good look. Nobody boxes out Camby or Ewing. Camby does a great job of keeping the ball alive. 2 offensive rebounds in the last minute. Wide open look for Charlie Ward. Just can't get it. But there, again, the Knicks have an advantage on the glass because 3 guys went running at Ward.
Same 10 players on the floor right now. 6 seconds remain. New York to inbound, trailing by 2. Ewing for the tie. Ewing's 8th point ties the game.
Well, this is a great play. They double-teamed him. Patrick, he's never afraid to take the big shot. Has made a lot of them in his NBA career. Right here, knocks it down, holds that follow-through all the way down to the other end of the court. I think he learned that at Georgetown.
It's like a fine wine. He gets better with age. How old is he, Danny?
He's having flashbacks tonight.
Tim Hardaway is not in. The same group that was at the other end is in now. 2.5 seconds to play in regulation. We're tied. Mashburn with the fake and overtime. Not that bad a shot.
No, that was a great shot. Sprewell almost went for the steal and overcommitted right there and gave Mashburn a wide open look. What a great game. Even though it's low scoring, the energy, the atmosphere, this is awesome.
The place is cooking now. We're tied at 68. Another chapter written in this great rivalry between the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat.
NBA Playoffs 2000 on TNT. Brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. Drivers want it. By IBM. Are you ready for e-business? By Gatorade Thirst Quencher. Refuse to lose. Refuse to give in. Gatorade. Is it in you? By 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls. And by Sunkist. One nation under the sun.
After we conclude here, if we conclude here, we send you to Phoenix for Game 3. The Lakers on top of the Phoenix Suns. And with a chance to win it here moments ago, Miami had this play coming out of their huddle.
You see Sprewell almost went for the steal right there, runs by him. That's a pretty darn good look with 2.6 seconds. Front rimmed it.
Well, definitely so, and that's always the case. So many people try to gamble as opposed to playing solid defense at that point. It almost cost them the game. They would feel terrible if a steal left a good shooter like Mashburn open to get that shot.
This game has had so many twists and turns. Miami had a lead of 3. New York came back. They're tied now at 68 in overtime. Mourning was out early in the second half, and it looked like Miami may wilt. But they got stronger. They eventually took the lead. Driving down the lane, Alonzo Mourning missing his first, trying for a second, and whacked inside.
Well, see, and that's one of the things that has to happen. He's getting a lot of second shots. Going towards the basket puts him at an advantage because he's so aggressive and so quick that it puts him in an opportunity, gives him an opportunity to get a second shot.
Ewing picked up his 4th foul. Here's Camby to Sprewell. Ward was open on the perimeter, and the Knicks hesitated from pulling the trigger. Ewing the screen. They doubled Sprewell on top, and he double dribbled.
Well, they hit the ball out of his hand. He grabbed his arm and made him dribble. Sprewell picked the ball up, and they grabbed his arm.
Did you get many technical fouls?
Oh, yeah. I might have gotten from them if it hadn't been overtime.
You would have been out of this game by now, partner.
No, I tell you what, I think the officials have done a pretty darn good job in this
Very
game,
good job.
considering a Miami-New York game.
You're right, Danny. Look at the physicalness in the post there with both Alonzo and Patrick.
Ball poked away as Mourning was taking it across the lane. And that's on Ewing, and now he has 5 with 4:16 to play in our first overtime.
That didn't look like two guys that enjoyed a dinner together to me, did it? The way they were banging each other that time in the post.
You joined them for a dinner down in Florida, didn't you?
Yes, but I don't have to play.
No, that's right.
And Coach Riley has nothing to say about what I do.
And you like it that way?
I love it that way.
Both teams shooting about 37% from the floor. Carter to Brown, who is so instrumental in keeping Miami above water. And a rebound for Patrick Ewing. That is his 9th of the game. But again, it's a 12-rebound advantage for Miami.
And New York's very fortunate that they didn't score there. They had too many possessions to try to score.
Sprewell with a great fake on Mashburn. And Mashburn bit, and the Knicks lead by 2.
Well, I tell you, and the thing that's interesting about this, a lot of times guys are willing to take shots during the body of the game, but at the end of the game, they don't want to take it. But all of these guys, when they have an opportunity to score, they're looking for the shot.
Mashburn for 3. New York born, New York raised. Jamal Mashburn. And the Heat by 1.
Well, Miami set up their defense to attack the double team down in the low post, and nobody could rotate out because they did a good job of sealing Camby underneath the basket.
Sprewell again. Marley dives for the loose ball and saves it, but it'll go out of bounds. He must have, and it's New York's ball. The great hustle, and the shot clock goes down to 8.
This is great basketball right here. Marley, he gets his hands on more balls and strips more players, but he just can't keep it in bounds. Great effort.
8 seconds on the shot clock. 3:06 to play in this first overtime. Heat on top, 71-70. Houston coming off a screen. Dancing with Marley for 3. Oh, great shot.
What a shot. What a shot.
The Knicks lead by 2, 73-71.
Unbelievable shot. I mean, you can't defend that play any better than that.
Houston's got 24. Mashburn spins on Sprewell at the other end. Rebound by Marcus Camby off the bench with his 5th.
Nobody else on the court could have got that rebound as high as he was over P.J. Brown right there. That's why Jeff Van Gundy gets criticized sometimes for who he plays, but he's got a lot of choices. That's why Camby's in the game. 2 offensive rebounds and 1 big defensive board.
Well, just like his quickness to the ball there on the floor. He's just so quick, and he's alert as to where the ball is.
Ward fires it inside. Camby. The New York Knicks are on a roll, trying to protect home court by any means.
And this is another reason he's on the court. He's easy to find and doesn't have to gather himself to score. Great pass by Charlie Ward.
The New York Knicks in overtime lead Miami 75-71.
Ernie Johnson in Studio A. They are underway at America West, and Phoenix out to a 10-6 lead over the Lakers. As you see, under 8 minutes to play in the first quarter. We'll be taking you there after Miami and New York are finished. Shaq, by the way, has not scored in this game. Let's go back to the Garden, guys.
Thank you, Ernie. The New York Knicks lead the Miami Heat 75-71. We're approaching 2 to play in overtime. Marley and Sprewell. Morning. What a pass to Carter inside. And a foul called on the interior defense of the New York Knicks as Carter went right into their teeth.
Hey, how great of execution is that coming out of a timeout? Good play by Camby, but that's Camby's 5th foul. That could come into play.
Well, it definitely comes into play as he goes out. There was a great pass by Alonzo. It was a great call of a play by Riley. They ran a semi-weave and then reversed it and hit the post, and Alonzo threw a great backdoor pass.
Carter with his first free throw tonight. Good numbers all the way down. That is the 14th free throw attempt, as you see Hardaway on the bench. 14 free throw attempts by Miami, 22 free throw attempts for the New York Knicks. Sprewell looking for Houston as the cutter. Marley shuts that door. The clock is at 7. Good defense by Mashburn. Enough so that Marley was able to watch, and Sprewell calls a timeout. 75-73, the Knicks on top by 2. Watch this matchup.
I mean, this is just great defense. It's been going like this the whole game. The fact that Houston caught it, surprising. They couldn't get it to him last time, but big time shot by Allen Houston.
With a game high 24 points.
DJ back at you from Atlanta, keeping you up to speed on the Phoenix Suns and the LA Lakers in a timeout. Phoenix on top 14-6. Penny has 6 quick points for the Suns. That's game 2 of our doubleheader. Back to the Garden, guys.
Thank you, EJ. 75-73, the New York Knicks lead Miami. You see the fouls to give in the timeout situation. 1:39 to play in overtime. Camby drives on Brown. Rebound by Marley. Now Miami trying to tie it. Miami has only made 1 field goal in the last 6.5 minutes, dating to the 4th quarter.
Well, and it's just as important that once the shot is taken, that boxing out is done here.
We are tied at 75.
Well, and those are big shots. A lot of people are making big shots in this game. Patrick hit some, Alonzo hit some, Camby, Mashburn. Never have I seen a shot where so many big shots are taken and made by players. Everybody's stepping up in this ball game.
They can't even get the ball to Houston. Marley's doing such a good job of denying him the ball.
Ewing may have kicked it out of bounds. Danny Crawford, one of the officials, makes the call. It's a New York Knicks turnover with 59 seconds to play in overtime.
Miami's completely taking New York out of their offense. They can't get anything that they're trying to get. Offensively, Patrick, that's not his game, driving from the three-point line against Alonzo. Miami's going to probably run some misdirection plays and eventually get the ball down to Alonzo on the post.
Like right here as he faces Ewing on the shot clock at 10. Marley, they snap it over to Carter. Back to Marley for 3 in the lead. It's loose, picked up by Sprewell. Carter picks up the foul.
They had a foul to give. It's okay. Miami reacted like, oh no, don't foul him. But they had one to give.
That's the second on Carter.
Right here, great defense by Marley. They're trying to get the ball to Houston. He's trying to work hard, but the passers are giving up on him too soon. They got to give him 4 or 5 seconds to try to free himself from Marley's strength.
Half minute to play in overtime. with 29 seconds to go in overtime.
Well, Dan Marley's playing by any means necessary defense on Houston right now. He'll hold him, he'll grab him, he'll do whatever he has to do. And I think Allen Houston has responded extremely well in this game, as he did just then, and coming off of screens and moving and trying to get him off of it.
Shot clock at 5. Ewing and Mourning. Shot clock at 2, and a foul called. Shot was a stray. And the foul, much to the chagrin of Miami coach Pat Riley.
Well, and I think it's really interesting, as Danny indicated, the defense is so tough on the Knicks that they're having very much difficulty finding second options. I mean, these guys are collapsing, they're pressuring the ball, they're doing everything.
Hey, I got to tell you, that's a bad call. There's no way there's a foul. What they've been letting go in this game, and then to call that at this time of the game, I don't understand that.
Marley picks up his 5th foul.
Got to have one.
For the lead from Patrick Ewing. With 13 seconds to play, Miami will take time. Well, Ewing sent it to overtime. And he's given the New York Knicks a 76-75 lead. Moments ago, Dan Marley of Miami, doubling with Mourning on Ewing, picked up his 5th foul.
Well, there's 3 seconds left on the shot clock. We've looked at this from every angle right now. I don't see it. I don't see any contact. Critical time of the game to be calling a play like this, giving a chance to lose, because it's great defense by Miami. Dan Marley does a great job of digging, swipes at the ball, hits nothing but air.
Well, particularly if you permit the man to put your hand on his back, slap him, and by any means necessary defense, there's no foul. But if you want to call, push it, and touch it, it might have been a little foul.
Let's see if Miami goes hard to the basket and tries to get a call themselves.
Ashburn picked up by Sprewell. On top to Marley. Carter driving inside for the lead. Down it goes. Oh, they wipe it away.
Goaltender.
Basket interference.
They better watch out. A technical's going to be called. The coaching staff had better get off the floor. The Miami coaching staff is out in half court.
The basket was called by the correct official. The official on the outside, that's his call to make the play. And the officials underneath overruled Danny Crawford out on the outside.
It's good. And Miami leads at 77-76 with 2.2 seconds to play in overtime. Let's watch it again.
It's a good drive by Carter, but there they go over. Patrick goes over to contest the shot. Again, nobody's boxing out. I can't tell from this angle, but that ball looks like it's right inside the rim. Couldn't tell if anybody touched it.
But it goes back to touching somebody. You've got to touch somebody. All night long, Camby and Alonzo have been tapping it offensive.
There are 2 things to watch here. First and foremost, the initial ruling. Did Mourning touch the ball? Was it in the cylinder? Did Mourning touch the ball?
Well, this angle gives us a much better view of it right here. Nobody's boxing out Alonzo, first of all, but it looks like he pulls his hand away and lets it go. Good call by the officials. But look at this shot. It's behind the backboard, and you're not supposed to be allowed to shoot the ball behind the backboard. So the shot should have been disallowed right from the beginning because he shot it over the edge of the backboard.
Nonetheless, Miami leads by 1. Would you expect any less an ending in a game between these 2 teams? Inside, knocked away by Bowen. Miami gets it, and Miami has won. An incredible win for the Miami Heat. Pat Riley has won 4 of his 8 playoff games as a Miami coach in this building. With a spectacular performance for the injured Tim Hardaway, for rookie Anthony Carter. Craig, take it away.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the shot. Where were you when you took the shot? Were you behind the backboard? And did you think that Zoe touched it?
Oh, well, I just got the ball, and I saw the wide open lane. Patrick came, and that's one of my runners I've been working on. And I thought I was in front of the backboard, and the ball went in. You know, I thought it was Zoe touched it, but looking at it, I saw him pull his hand back. So, you know, it was a great shot.
Was the play designed for you?
No, the play wasn't designed for me, but I knew if the ball came to me, I was going to have to try to step up and make the shot. We ain't had that much time on the clock.
At first, they overruled the shot. What was your reaction?
I was saying, no, please look at the replay. I hope we have a replay. And so, you know, they looked at the shot. I mean, you know, one of the refs saw it, and it was a good shot.
You knew Zoe did not touch it.
I knew it. I was looking at it all the way.
What was said in this last huddle? You guys have played such great defense all night. What was said before that last attempt by the Knicks?
Just come out and play good, hard defense one more time. And, you know, one of our guys got our hands on the ball, and we got the steal.
You've stepped up this year, but when you knew Tim Hardaway was hurt, his foot was bothering him, what did you say to yourself before the game tonight and throughout the game, what you had to do?
I just told myself I got to be prepared because I never know when Tim going to go down. He never tell me, so I always get myself mentally prepared, and I was just ready tonight. And I knew once I came in third quarter, I was going to have to play it all the way through.
Well, you guys were owed a lucky bounce. You got it tonight. Anthony Carter, great job. Let's go back to Kevin.
He had 10 points, 6 in the fourth quarter and overtime. And here's what's coming up. Game 4, Sunday here in the Garden. Final score in overtime. Miami wins it 77-76. Miami up 2-1 lead. The game-winning shot by Heat rookie Anthony Carter. For John Thompson and Danny Ainge, Kevin Harlan saying so long. The Heat a winner in overtime. Let's go to Phoenix and Dick Stockton.